Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The meeting will begin momentarily. If you could please put your phone on silent or vibrate. This meeting of your Pontiac City Council for Tuesday, October 15th, 2024 is hereby called to order at 6:00 p.m. We give the floor to Councilman Parker to introduce this evening's invocation.
Thank you, Brother President, and I pray that everyone has had a good day today. Our invocation will be given to us today by Bishop Teresa Lee of the New Birth International Church.
No.
Turn the microphone on.
All right. Amen. To God be the glory. It's an honor and a privilege to be here and to render this area called prayer. The Bible said we come together. Let's come together in the spirit of unity. What better way to start in prayer? So, Father God, in Jesus' name, we come to you tonight. First of all, thanking you for the privilege and the opportunity just to be in the presence of wonderful, amazing people that want to make change, difference in our community, in our state, and in our nation. Father, as we come tonight, we pray, God, in Jesus' name, that you would bless us to do what you want to do, to be who you called us to be, to make a difference in our communities. God, we thank you for our city council. We thank you for our mayor. We thank you for every person that's in this room tonight. Father God, I thank you above all things. Before the foundation of the earth, you already had a plan. Always the enemy got a plot to try to distract us in so many different ways, but God, you got a plan. And I thank you, Father, that you have people in place that can make things happen, shifting, change. God, in Jesus' name, we thank you for our president of city council. We thank you for every council district that's represented here tonight. We praise you for. We thank you for their dedication to our city. God, we give your name glory, Father, and we give your name honor. We thank you for the residents of this city. We thank you for the leaders of this city. You put all things together. So, God, tonight we give your name glory. Father, we give your name praise and we give your name honor. In Jesus' name, thank God and amen.
Thank you. Amen. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As a community, we now join for a moment of silence, remembering those who have recently passed away from the great city of Pontiac, reading them now alphabetically. And it's been a few weeks since we've read the names, so there are a number. William Allison, Carissa Anzurez Suarez Rossi, Isabel Barr, Annie Brent, Ozell Brownlee, Deborah Burnett McClendon, Mary Carr, Ronald Cater, Terry Cathy, Ernest Eccles, Lewis Edwards, David Faust, Tyrone Glenn Jr., and he, at our last meeting, he was not named, but he was the 24-year-old murder victim of the shooting at Arborview Village in recent days. So we now know his name of Tyrone Glenn Jr., gone too soon. Glenn Herring, Emma Howard, Christopher Howell Sr., Donna Jackson, Andrew Lester, Paul Lewis, Calvin Lyons, Carlos Martinez, Willie Mae McCoy Johnson, who worked for the city of Pontiac for 34 years as a DPW dispatcher. Last week we passed a resolution honoring our former city staff member, and our condolences to her family. James McDermott, Sandra McGinnis, my stepmother, Sherman McLaurin Jr., Levon Mullen, Pearline Parker, Richard Payne, Kadra Powell, Fred Quinn Jr., Marquise Robinson, Excel Rogers Jr., the Reverend Frederick Smith Jr., Mary Thompson Lamarbe, Adrian Turner, and Christiana Wade. Please join us as a community for a moment of silence in their memory. Thank you all very much. We are now at, is there a motion to, roll call. Clerk Doyle.
Carrington,
Present.
Goodman,
Here.
James,
Here.
Jones,
Present.
McGinnis,
Present.
Parker,
Here.
Rutherford.
Present.
Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Quorum being established and all members present and voting, is there a motion to approve this evening's agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Parker, seconded by Councilman Rutherford. The motion is now before us. I'm so sorry. It was seconded by Councilwoman Jones. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any amendments, changes, clarifications? Hearing none, speakers list exhausted. Roll call, Clerk Doyle on adoption of the agenda as prepared.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker, Rutherford.
Yes.
7 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The agenda is approved. We are now at the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve this evening's consent agenda?
Moved by Carrington. Support.
It's been moved by Pro Tem Carrington, seconded by Councilman Goodman, that we adopt this evening's consent agenda. It includes the following: the Economic Development, Housing, and Planning Subcommittee meeting minutes of October 7th, the City Council meeting minutes from October 8th, including the closed session minutes, resolution recognizing Chavez Auto Care for helping make the Pullover Prevention Clinics a success, and resolution recognizing Uncle Jerry's Barbecue for helping make the Pullover Prevention Clinics a success. Roll call and adoption of the consent agenda, which approves those items included. Clerk Doyle.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
7 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The consent agenda is approved. We are now at recognition of elected officials. Are there any current elected officials in our community that wish to give an update regarding their positions? Hearing none, we are now at agenda address, an opportunity for members of the community to speak to items on the agenda before they're considered by City Council. And I will make a note that on this evening's agenda, we have a public hearing on a special exception denial appeal for concrete crusher at 225 East Columbia. That will be its own standalone opportunity for members of the public, anyone who wishes to speak on it, ask questions. Everyone will be given the floor. So you don't feel, if you have not signed up for agenda address or public comment, you will still have the opportunity. You will not have had to sign in to have an opportunity to speak on public comment. So I just want to make sure everyone was aware of that. Pro Tem Carrington, any requests for agenda address?
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. Mr. Carlton Jones.
And while he's coming to the microphone, you have the right to speak at every one of those times. You can speak at agenda address and public hearing if you so chose, even if it's on that same topic.
Okay. Good evening. 2 minutes. I know it's a short period of time. We got quite a few items that I want to speak to, so I guess I'll just go down them. First and foremost, I want to give our clerk and his staff a excellent round of applause for doing all they can to truly make sure we got the opportunity for voting. I think the different methods we have, it makes me want to challenge the people in Pontiac. If we know anything about our voting record here in Pontiac, we have to step it up. And I'm usually here talking about youth and workforce, but right now for this voting, we truly need to make a statement with this election. Everybody needs to know that we have not hit the mark, nowhere near the mark, our voting record. So all those in the community that's 40 and over, let's do family voting. Let's do family voting this year and make sure your total family is out. The next one I want to talk about are special exceptions. We continuously get these appeals for special exceptions. When we get our planning commission to vote totally against it, the community totally against it. We got to find a different way than to run up to our bill, going through a whole lot of steps, bringing a special exception to the body. The other item that I want to speak to is about Oakland Woods. Oakland Woods is a senior development here in our city, excellent senior development, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be a part of it, and I'm looking for full support that we're looking at expanding the opportunity for seniors to live in place. There's several other items on the agenda I'd like to talk to, but 2 minutes is not enough. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Dr. Deirdre Waterman.
I'd like to first start to continue in the vein about this is voting season right now. And I would like to share something that has been circulated that was done by a group I belong to, which has done these for the public interest. And those are Link Up the Vote fact sheets. It has a lot of information. People frequently ask questions, as well as QR codes that can take you directly to the Secretary of State's office to get an absentee ballot or to have questions about where to register. You can register right up until the last day of voting. So it's important for Pontiac people to get up and be involved. This is not the election to sit out. Very important issues being decided. So these sheets were passed along by all the organizations I took them to. They're very helpful. There's source back here. Even the clerk has them in his office. So they're free, and you can help yourself to them. It's done by the Metro Links of the Oakland County chapter of the Links Incorporated. But I did want to get to something else on the agenda. And there's some questions, Council, that keep appearing week after week. And as you found that you're being kind of led along here and not given the information for some really important issues. And one of the things that I'm going to start with and get to some of the others about ARPA later on, public comment. But that's the retiree money. It's on the agenda again. You're just asking for a straight answer. And that's what our retirees deserve. As it turns out, it's been dragged along so long now that they're not going to get it this year. Okay? And that's just the actuality of it. Now, you ask the questions, you keep getting excuses and a different answer every time. It's blamed on somebody else. What you can do, and let me just tell you that because I know how these things work. What you can do if you can't get it from the administration, go to the attorneys who are handling it. You pay for them, and you can call anybody before you that you want to, that you pay. And they will tell you the right answer because that is their profession. Rich Warren, John Clark, Samantha Kopaz. Any of those have been carrying it along. All right.
Thank you, Dr. Waterman. Mr. Chuck Johnson. Ms. Bishop Teresa Lee, what item of business? It's got to be on the agenda. What item?
Just for voting.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, good evening again. I'm just here to as well express the importance for us to go out and to vote this particular season. It's nothing that we should take for granted. Our lives as our state, and I'm in again with the brother that just got finished speaking. Our team have done an amazing team to make every effort for us to go out and vote. It's so very important. If we don't vote, we cannot complain. So that's what I want to talk. Please, I beg, Pontiac, Oakland County, I beg that we all, that's what we say in Nigeria, I beg that we go out and vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop Lee. Ms. Linda Watson, I'm assuming is number 6. Retirement benefits? No? Okay, so what is the item?
This is agenda address.
Okay, what item?
I'm talking about one. I did want to say thank you to our city clerk. He has really done a tremendous job in getting the information out. I've seen the ads a couple of times on YouTube, so there's no reason that anyone can say that they don't know about this election. The other thing is I wanted to mention, I've seen the street sweepers. They were on the south side the last 2 days. I thought they were a phantom, but they're actually there. So I'm thankful for that, too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Watson. Mr. Kermit Williams, I'm sorry.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, President McGinnis, Pro Tem Carrington, and to our illustrious Pontiac City Council. Just want to speak on item number 17, which is early voting in Pontiac. We will be at the library with the Deltas. I believe it's called Candy, Costumes, and Casting Ballots. My thought is that the Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, will be there that day at the library from 12 to, I believe it's 4 o'clock. So come on out and vote early. It's very important that we utilize early voting. We have some friends and some family, some cousins, as I like to call them, that we may not catch Tuesday of the election. And they'll say, oh, I'm going to vote on Wednesday. Wednesday is too late. So we need to make sure that before November 5th, we're catching those people, and the 26th is a good day to start and get those people out of the way that may be talking about not voting or consistently not voting in our family. And my family, if you don't vote, you don't get to sit at the adult table. You got to sit with the kids at Thanksgiving and Christmas. So we want everybody sitting at the big kids table. We need Pontiac to get out to vote. I know the council people, you're officially welcome to come on out along with the mayor's office, and I think the clerk is going to be making sure that his people are there doing a great job. Voting is important. And on the 26th, we need to make sure that everybody is at the library to vote at that event, early voting, because once you do that, you can get that out of the way. And also, the drop box in front of City Hall actually works. You just got to push it in and make sure you slide your vote in. I just helped a lady vote earlier today because she didn't think it was working. So just know that those drop boxes work. You got to use a little elbow grease, but you can get your ballot in there. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. I believe it says Stacy Latham. You pass. Okay. Ms. Darlene Clark, which item of business? Okay.
First, I want to good afternoon, Council, administration. First, I want to say thank you, Mr. Carlton Jones, for addressing the special exception. That is very important to our city. When investors come into our city with a plan, when the plans are approved, somehow or another they get off the format of what they intend to do for our city. So the residents come before them along with the investor to try to stop them in their tracks by coming up with another plan to push into the system of Pontiac. Please, everything that was told no. And I know that investors have a right to appeal, but do not let the investors use our council, who represent the people, to get what they want. Now, this is directly to the administration, especially Mayor Grimer, with all due respect. The people has lost faith about the GERS retirees. You see this and you have heard this on a continuous basis for well over a year, more up to 2 years of the situation. Prove these people wrong. Get your credibility back so that you can have an upstanding, because the one thing that we cannot as citizens of Pontiac run over retiree. Though you think you have done all that you can, the retirees do not. They are dying, they are sick, and they are lacking. For that, just for that alone, to give that helping hand and to prove to everybody in this room who has earned that money and the ones that are listening that you are not the villain, that you are really trying to do what's truly right.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. President McGinnis, that concludes agenda address.
Thank you, Pro Tem. We're at number 1 on this evening's agenda, the first of 2 special presentations. We give the floor to Clerk Garland Doyle to do a weekly check-in on how we're progressing with Pontiac general election voter participation for the Tuesday, November 5th general election for all Pontiac voters. That's the last day to vote, not the day to vote, the last day to vote, and we're working hard to make sure all residents know their options. Clerk Doyle, what should we know?
Thank you, Mr. President. I shared some of this information last week, but it's really important information, so I'll share some of the same information again. Okay. A voter registration, some of the members of the public have already talked about it, but the way voter registration works, 15 days prior to or any day, all the way up until October 21st, you can register online, any kind of way. But starting a week from today, October 22nd, which will be 14 days before the election, if you want to vote in this election, you will have to register in person in the clerk's office. And in addition to that, you will have to provide proof of residency. And then these are some examples of proof of residency. So you want to make sure you get registered prior to October 22nd, but if you miss that, you can still register October 22nd and all the way up and through Election Day, but you just will have to have proof of residency, and you will have to register in person in the clerk's office. So starting a week from today, there are a lot of people doing voter registrations. If you want to vote in this election, you will have to register in person in the clerk's office. So that's really important to know. Okay. Again, there are 3 different ways in which you can...
Can I stop you, Clerk Doyle?
Sure.
So to make sure everyone's clear on that, you must register if you haven't registered before, right, or if something has changed substantially to your registration or your residency.
Right.
So let's say somebody is in the process of moving. Do you have any advice on how that should shake out? Each is a case by case. Do you recommend somebody contact the clerk's office and find out straight from the clerk's office, you know, the timing of when they're moving and whether they should change their registration now or later?
Right, yes. So really, unless you have verification of proof of residency, you probably should vote at the address that you currently are in essence at. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So there are 3 ways in which you can vote in this upcoming election. You can vote by absentee ballot. We can send you a ballot by mail, or you have the option to vote in person in the clerk's office all the way up until November 4th at 4 p.m. Early voting starts on October 26th. That was mentioned before, and it goes from October 26th through November 3rd. So that's next week, Saturday. Early voting will start and go through November 3rd, right at the Pontiac Library. And you can also, or you can vote at Waterford Oaks, because we're in partnership with the county. So these are the early voting hours. Every day, early voting is 8:30 to 4:30, with the exception of Thursday. On Thursday, early voting is from 12 p.m. until 8 p.m. And again, if you're voting by absentee ballot, you can track your absentee ballot. So just scan the QR code. And when we will show you when we mailed you your application was received. When we mailed you your ballot, it will show you when we received your ballot. So if you're returning your ballot by mail and you want to check, you can go to mi.gov/vote, or if you return it to a drop box, we're receiving ballots the same day. We have to check by law all of our drop boxes every business day that we're open. And as has been said before, actually, the last day to vote is November 5th. And on November 5th, you will have to go to your assigned polling location, and the polls will be open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. I mentioned about the service team last week. And again, we want to ensure that the model we've adopted, that everyone can ensure that everyone can vote. So seniors who are homebound, disabled, members of the community, we will go directly to you. With that being said, this Thursday, we will be at American House at the Village at Bloomfield. They're having a town hall meeting. So we will be there on site to assist voters at that location. If you want us to go any particular place, please feel free to contact the clerk's office at 248-758-3200. There are several ways you can return your absentee ballot. You can, I've said this before, to one of the drop boxes. We have 4 drop boxes in the city that are operational 24 hours a day. They're all under 24-hour video or surveillance. In addition to that, you can return it directly into the clerk's office. You can also now, and this is new for this election, if you have received an absentee ballot, but you actually want to insert your ballot in the tabulator once early voting starts on October 26th, you can go to the early voting site and stand in line. They'll check you in, and you can actually insert your absentee ballot into the tabulator. Because normally, you're putting your absentee ballot in the envelope, you're signing the envelope. But if you want to put your ballot in the tabulator, you can do it at the early voting site. You can also do it on Election Day and return it to your assigned polling location as well, too. But remember, all ballots must be received by 8 p.m. on Election Day to count. So you would have to return it to the clerk's office or to one of our secure drop boxes. This is the contact information. I've mentioned our phone number. Again, is 758-3200. And we will have some extended hours prior to the election. On Friday, we'll be open until 5. That weekend, Saturday and Sunday before the election, November 2nd and 3rd, will be open from 10 to 2. And then on Election Day, we'll be open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. If you have not already received this week, every registered voter household in the city of Pontiac will receive a sample ballot, which gives you information that I've already talked about, the 3 different ways that you can vote. It also gives a sample ballot, so you have the opportunity to look at the sample ballot. In Pontiac, and it's because of our county commission district, we have 2 county commission districts. I think it's District 9 and District 10. So a portion of the city, precincts 1, 2, 7, and 18 are represented by one county commissioner, and then precincts 3 through 6 are represented by a different county commissioner. So voters will get their sample ballot depending on where they live. That's the only difference between the ballots in Pontiac, and that mailing will be going out this week. Again, we're doing all kind of outreach on this Thursday at 7 p.m. Zoom. New Mount Moriah International Church is having what they're calling Election 101, and I agreed to speak on their Zoom where they're trying to inform voters about the election. And then I mentioned last week about the Pontiac Votes Community Challenge. We did this 2 years ago in 2022. So last week, these were our return as relates to absentee ballots. So as of, and this is just a day in essence behind, so October 7th of last week, we had issued 7,205 absentee ballots, and we had a return rate overall of 21%. This week, we are now up to, we have issued a total of 7,823 absentee ballots. And our return rate of ballots actually received in hand in the clerk's office is 39.29%. And that is really pretty good, because when I look back at the data from 2 years ago, when I started tracking this, and this was closer to the election on October 25th, we were just at a 45% return rate. So people are getting their ballots returned, which is always a good thing. And then we're actually up on the number of absentee ballots as well, too. So we just want to simply highlight by the districts. The one in green shows the highest percentage increase from last week to this week, and that's Council District 6 at a 20.74% increase. So.
I thought I was going to make a little comment there.
Actually, I thought about it, but then I said, no, I better not make a comment.
So we'll be tracking this week to week. So that will change based on week to week. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Discussion and questions from council. I do want to clarify for the community, who can participate at the Pontiac early voting site at Pontiac Public Library? Is that only Pontiac voters?
Only Pontiac voters.
But from all corners of the city. Doesn't matter your precinct, they can handle everybody at this early voting site.
Correct, yes.
And it is important, if you're trying to help alleviate the burden on the city clerk's staff, the early voting is the most straightforward way, because if you, not saying you can't, but if you request an absentee ballot, they got to issue that ballot, they got to mail that ballot, you got to return that ballot, they got to process that ballot. So the early voting site kind of cuts through some of those various steps and can make the process smoother. So we want to encourage residents to participate in that. So the Pontiac Public Library, October 26th and going forward, with details that were spelled out, any Pontiac resident, any Pontiac voter can handle and participate there.
Right.
Waterford Oaks that you shared as an early voting site, Pontiac voters can go there.
Yes.
But are other Oakland County voters able to go to that early voting site,
Yes.
to your knowledge?
Any voter that, any municipality that's in partnership with the county can go to the county regional site, which is Waterford Oaks, and vote there. But only Pontiac voters can vote at the Pontiac Library. So everybody that's in partnership with the county, Oak Park is a community, and there's several other communities. They have a site for their municipality, and then there is the county-wide site, which is Waterford Oaks. So our municipality site is the Pontiac Public Library.
Thank you. Other questions or discussion? We're going to return this presentation next week to check in how we're progressing, which district's seen the most growth, what are the numbers at. Please encourage your neighbors, friends, family, so that way we as a community can, it just grows our political power. No matter who you're voting for, when we have higher voter turnout in Pontiac, it strengthens our ability to influence and be recognized at receiving resources. It's very important for the overall health of our city to have an active and participating electorate.
Right. And that's why we've adopted the motto, Vote Pontiac Matters.
That's right. Councilwoman James has alluded to it in the past, but we want to keep growing the numbers so that way when they look at all 61 cities and townships in Oakland County, we don't want Pontiac to be at the bottom. We want to keep moving up that ranking because we want to move up in terms of all the good stuff that comes from it.
Right, exactly.
Hearing nothing further, we move on. Thank you, sir. And again, thank you to the hardworking staff of the city clerk's office, chief assistant clerk, the deputy clerks, the temp workers. It all is a team effort, and we're really grateful to them. All right, we are at the second of two special presentations this evening. We give the floor to Councilman Mikhail Goodman for Pullover Prevention Clinic outcomes and reflections on that. The City Council in our consent agenda just adopted 2 resolutions, and he'll speak further to that. Councilman Goodman.
Hello, everyone. It is very fun being on this side for once. I will try to keep it as quick as possible, but I do want to take this time to very much draw some attention to some work that I've been doing here in Pontiac. Since the beginning of this year, I've been holding this event on a regular basis, probably about quarterly, which is called the Pullover Prevention Clinic. I'm not the first person to do it in Pontiac. They exist all across Michigan, especially in places like Ypsi and even places down south. But I think this is the first place that has ever been done to this extent. I believe beginning back in April was the first pullover prevention clinic for the year, where we were able to, if I remember correctly, fix about 50 cars and feed 250 people, thanks to the folks at Chavez Auto. Tony, raise your hand, wave. He came here directly from the shop, I can tell he did. And then also the family at Uncle Jerry's Barbecue with Angela Allen and her whole family who are here. So that was the first one. We ended up doing the second one in, I believe, June. It all runs together for me now. And that time we ended up fixing 250 cars and feeding over 500 people, or about 500 people. The last one that we just did, we did a little bit less than we did the first couple of times, but we still ended up fixing like over 100 cars and feeding about 400 plus people. So collectively, over the course of the year, we fixed about 500 cars, we fed over 1,500 people, and connected thousands of people, both in Pontiac and all over Michigan, really, at this point, with resources, with needed car repairs, with, you know, sometimes just a meal that they might not have gotten that day. If you look at this, the slide I have up here, this is from the most recent one. Again, just very happy faces of people who have helped make this possible, people who have attended this event. I mean, at this point, the only thing I can say is I'm very happy to, you know, be on council and be in the position to be able to do something like this, because every single one that we've done, people have been extremely thankful. The news has covered it more than once, mainly because people have recognized that people are in need. People need car repairs, people need food, people need resources, and being able to provide all of that in one place is extremely important. And it's not lost on me that in a city that is black and brown, in a city that, you know, very much has to deal with the fact that, you know, police brutality is a thing, while it is often said that it doesn't happen here, and while it may, you know, be minimized here in Pontiac than it is in other places to an extent, you know, really trying to make sure that this is an opportunity to keep black and brown motorists and poor motorists safely on the road, because we recognize that getting pulled over for a headlight or a taillight can go a lot further than just receiving a ticket or receiving a fix-it ticket. It has cost the lives of multiple people in this country just getting pulled over. So I have taken it, and I am, you know, very happy to say that, you know, the first year of, you know, doing pullover prevention clinics as a District 3 project has been an enormous success. But that would have not been possible without the people and the family over at Chavez Auto Care and the family at Uncle Jerry's for supporting this idea every single time without hesitation. So that, I believe, concludes my presentation, unless people have questions.
Do you want to present the resolutions?
I'll do that after I guess questions.
Okay, very good. Pro Tem Carrington?
Yes, thank you, President McGee. I just want to say, I'll just give you condolences, not condolences, I'm thinking of the wrong thing, kudos for all the hard work you do in your district concerning this particular project. You definitely taken it and ran with it. And each time you've done it, I've seen it improve. I've seen more community members get involved. So I definitely, it's a positive thing that you've done in District 3. Thank you.
Other discussion? Councilman Rutherford.
It's truly amazing that you took a little situation and you made it bigger. And what I mean by that is people don't know the car repair can oftentimes break a family. You know, first it starts with your oil change, then it's your brake, then it's your brake line. And what's important is that you keep moving the needle, and that we are addressing the needs of the people over anything else. And that's what we're supposed to do in this position. You always are supposed to address the people. How does our decisions affect the people? And what you're doing is really what you're supposed to do in this role. And so I thank you publicly, I thank you privately, because people don't understand that they get titles mixed up with the work, and what you're doing is absolutely the work. So I applaud you. That's it. You welcome.
Amen to both of those sentiments. With that, the floor is yours to present the resolutions the council has just adopted.
Thank you. So first, I would like to invite up Tony from Chavez Auto. So Tony, come on up here. To belabor the point a little bit more, you know, we have district project funds. We have to, you know, be good stewards of how we spend that and try to make the money go as far as possible. I mean, I grew up in Pontiac, so the idea of getting every single dollar stretched as far as humanly possible is just something that I'm just naturally going to do. And when I brought this idea to Tony and his brother, they just did it. They were like, yep, we'll just do it for free. No questions asked. This entire project would not be possible whatsoever without them. Because again, between like 500 plus car repairs, and that's not just headlights and taillights, that's AC recharges, that's windshield wipers, that's oil changes, that's other minor repairs that are keeping people on the road. People whose car was overheating, they drove specifically to the Pullover prevention plant to get help. People came for brakes. The amount of money that we would have spent to do those repairs and parts and labor would have made this just completely impossible had Tony and his family and the people at the shop not done what they did. So I'm very happy to bring Tony up here. I don't know if you have a couple words you want to say. I know you're not a man of penny.
Honestly, I just wanted to thank Mikkel for kind of guiding me through this, and it was my pleasure doing this, and I'll be more than happy to do it in the future over and over again. I wanted to thank Uncle Jerry and his amazing daughter Angela for helping me also guide me through what we had to do, and I just, you know, I'm thankful to do it myself, and I'll be more than happy to do it over and over. Okay. Thank you.
Standing ovation for Tony. And tell the people the address of your auto repair shop.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm going to take the time to quickly read through this. The content is a little bit different between this one and the one for Uncle Jerry's. But whereas the city of Pontiac is committed to fostering a spirit of volunteerism, compassion, and community engagement to improve the lives of all residents, and whereas the Juma family and the dedicated mechanics at Chavez Auto Care have gone above and beyond in their service to the community by volunteering their time, skills, and resources to support the last 3 pullover prevention clinics, and whereas their efforts have made a tremendous impact resulting in the feeding of over 1,500 people, the repair of over 500 cars at no cost to participants, and the connection of thousands of individuals with vital resources and assistance throughout Pontiac and Metro Detroit. And whereas the Juma family and Chavez Auto Care exemplify the values of generosity and dedication that strengthen our community and serve as an inspiring example of how local businesses and individuals can uplift residents and needs. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Pontiac City Council formally acknowledges and extends the deepest appreciation to the Juma family and the mechanics at Chavez Auto Care for their exceptional volunteerism and unwavering commitment to improving the quality of life for the people of Pontiac and beyond, and further resolve that the city of Pontiac encourages all residents to recognize and celebrate the contributions of the Juma family and Chavez Auto Care as a testament to the power of community and solidarity.
Where Chavez Auto Care is located. Many people know, but
Yeah, we're right on the corner of Cesar Chavez and Montcalm.
very good.
We're right on that corner.
How long have you been operating there?
We've been there for close to 15 years.
Thank you for persevering and being an important
It's
part of
my
the Pontiac
pleasure. I
community.
just want to say I love the city. Yeah, this is my home here.
Beautiful.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And don't go too far, Tony, because we're going to take a picture in a second. I'm sorry that I didn't give you more. You can just sit down for now, because we're going to take it up there. But now I have to take the pleasure of inviting up now Angela Allen, you know, the girl on the grill. Come on. You can give her a bigger round of applause than that. Come on now. Similar to the folks at Chavez Auto, you know, there is no point in trying to provide resources or have an event if you're not giving people food. I'm just going to be transparent. You can provide as many free things as possible, but if free food's not one of them, people probably will not come. And so, you know, not just providing food, but providing delicious food that all of us in Pontiac know how good quality Uncle Jerry's is. We all go there. We all wait in that line for hours on end. See, I get lucky. See, I have an event, so every 3 months I can just get my food and not have to wait there that entire time. But this again would not be possible without being able to work with Uncle Jerry's Barbecue to provide food to the people of Pontiac and beyond. I think the real big important part is we all know that Uncle Jerry's is not cheap. And so making sure that, A, I pay them every bit that they deserve because they are a small Pontiac business. They have been here for years, and that they're going to do everything that they can for our community. But with that money, Angela was like, all right, well, we're going to stretch it as far as humanly possible. We're going to get everything that we can for that amount of money. And like we've said, they have been able to feed over 1,500 people, including hundreds of homeless residents right here in Pontiac who are right in my district and nearby. And I mean, just from the deepest part of who I am, this would not be possible without Angela and her family, because, yeah, food is important, and it's a major part of community. And honestly, I don't know if these events would do as well if we did not have Uncle Jerry's at every single one of these events. So I really want to thank you so much.
Thank you. So I just want to say thank you to Mikhail for having us and for allowing us this partnership. This is a huge ordeal. I haven't seen it done in Pontiac or anywhere else for that matter. So helping our residents out and Pullover Prevention Clinic was just perfect. So thank you to everybody who had a hand in it, who assisted him along the way and kept granting him the opportunity to do it for a third time. So thank you to my mother and father for allowing me to use their barbecue grills to do this. So that's all. That's it. Thank you, Tony. We appreciate you.
And to quickly run over this, I'll read the whereases that are actually different. Whereas the generosity of Uncle Jerry's Barbecue has not only sustained individuals at these clinics, but also uplifted the spirits of those most vulnerable in our community, demonstrating the power of collective action and community care. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Pontiac City Council formally acknowledges and expresses its deepest appreciation to Angela Allen and the family of Uncle Jerry's Barbecue for their outstanding contributions and unwavering dedication to the residents of Pontiac and the greater Metro Detroit area, and further resolved that the Pontiac City, Further resolve that the City of Pontiac celebrates their selfless service as a shining example of how local businesses can profoundly impact community and encourages all residents to recognize their efforts and gratitude. So with that, I would like to now have Tony come up here along with the rest of the people at Uncle Jerry's. That way we can take a picture at the dais in case Pontiac City Council also wants to join in.
Sounds good.
So we're going to be actually up there.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our special presentations. We are now at this evening's public hearing. We have one public hearing. This is for a special exception denial appeal for a concrete crusher at 225 East Columbia in the city of Pontiac. We'll give the floor to the administration for the background information, but so that when everyone's aware procedurally, the administration will give some information overview. Then we will open up the public hearing. Everyone who wishes to speak on it can and will have the opportunity. The public hearing will close it if there's no other askers, if you will. And then I'll confirm with the the staff on whether we would be voting on this tonight or if it would be in the future. Based on my understanding of the agenda, it would not be rendered a verdict this evening, but you can clarify that. It might be right after the public hearing we would make that decision. The way the city's ordinance in Pontiac spells out, for special exceptions only, that if somebody is turned down at the Planning Commission, they could say, I want to appeal that turn down, and it comes to the full City Council, which is what is taking place here this evening. Mayor, Administration, you have the floor for other background information before we open up the public hearing for people to speak their piece.
Yeah, thank you, President McGinnis. Obviously, you have quite a bit of background information in your packet. Before I turn it over to Manager Mark Yandrick, I do just want to note that when this project was initially approved by the Planning Commission, I believe at the time, there was a specific question asked by planning commissioners about whether or not this project would include a concrete crusher. And the owner of the property specifically said it would not include a concrete crusher. But lo and behold, they ended up doing concrete crushing there without the relevant permissions from the city. So with that, I'll turn it over to Manager Yandrick.
Good evening, City Council, Administration, thank you, and the public. So this is, compared to most of my presentations, this is a briefer presentation, just giving a high-level overview of the Planning Commission decision to really give City Council the information for the appeal. So this originally was PSEP 24-007, which isn't, and it's an appeal of this, tonight is an appeal of that special exception. The applicant is JADC Ventures, and Mario Ivano is their representative on the application. It is for a special exception, again, at 225 East Columbia Avenue. The request is for heavy manufacturing and specifically for a use of a concrete crusher. The date of the special exception hearing was on August 7th, and that is when the date was rendered. Again, the applicant seeks approval to use that concrete crusher, and the Planning Commission denied due to the impacts to adjacent residential properties. So as the mayor mentioned, the applicant received special exception approval for what is essentially outdoor storage of natural materials. From the transcript in the orange, Mr. Sabo, who was the consultant planner at the time, asked the applicant if he could occupy the site without the crusher moving into the future, and if the applicant understands this will not be part of the approval of that special exception. Mr. Cosino, if I'm pronouncing it correct, indicated he understood that, and they could crush somewhere else. The city did find that there was crushing occurring on the site earlier this year and placed a cease and desist on the property in April of 2024. Because there was not an approval for this use at that site. The staff does not have knowledge that there has been any action from the applicant at the site. They have told us it has been removed. We have not had complaints. There has been another smaller concrete crusher operation that's also been cited, but that's that's not up for discussion this evening. I just wanted to share that just as relevancy. The site has been, again, utilized as outside storage since it was approved, and then they wanted to have, use concrete crushing. So let me give some proposal here, and I have some adjacent slides, but this is their so-called site plan. So the crusher was proposed to be in this location right here, and the applicant had described to staff that essentially as they are crushing the concrete and it's getting into a finer material, they would put spoils, which are like piles, on the periphery over here. Now, I have some additional maps, but this is East Columbia Avenue over here, and this is part of a GM site. There is a landscape buffer over here, fencing on the north and to the south, but there's very little in the way of landscaping currently in those two areas. This is the aerial photo. This comes from Oakland County's property gateway from 2023, just showing the site. Again, the concrete crusher is not on here, but you can see the general area where the spoil piles are, and the applicant, or the appellant, I should say, can describe the other uses that are being done on the site. Again, this is a former GM property. And this map shows the M2, which is heavy manufacturing. That is the zoning district. This does require a special exception from Planning Commission to do heavy industrial use, such as a concrete crusher. There are 3 areas that staff identified in our original staff report that are residential. There's one swath of about 7 blocks to the east here. There is several blocks of residential to the northeast off of Princeton Avenue and Sheffield. And then there are 4 blocks of a neighborhood of residential homes, 4 or 5 blocks just to the southeast off of Columbia Avenue. So those are 3 local areas that there's residential homes that could potentially impact the neighborhood, and that's what Planning Commission was reviewing as part of the special exception. This is one street view that was taken from earlier this year, again, just given some perspective for City Council in their review. There are 7 standards of approval. I'm going to briefly read these. There is no analysis in this presentation, but in this special exception, the proposed use shall be harmonious with the master plan. The proposed use and appearance of the site shall be harmonious with the existing and intended character of the general vicinity. The proposed use shall not change the essential character of the area or adversely affect the development of the surrounding neighborhood. 4, the proposed use shall not be hazardous or disturbing to existing or future uses in the same general vicinity and will be a substantial improvement to the community as a whole. Number 5, be served adequately by essential public facilities and services such as highways, streets, police, fire protection, drainage structures, refuse disposal, water, sewage facilities, and schools. 6, not involve uses, activities, processes, materials, and equipment or conditions of operation that will be detrimental to any person, property, or the general welfare as a result of producing excess traffic noise, smoke, fumes, glare, or odors out of proportion to that normally prevailing in that particular district. And 7, maintain all proposed structures, equipment, or materials in a readily accessible manner for police and fire protection. Planning Commission denied the special exception application to locate the concrete crusher at the site 6-0. Now, I do not have any analysis from Planning Commission but the minutes are in your packet, so I would advise that if you want to review what was said, we do have 4 speakers at the public hearing. Those names and their comments are in the minutes for that meeting. And I also did want to point out that this was advertised twice to Planning Commission. So the applicant for the special exception asked for a tabling so they could do further research about the staff report and kind of address some of the original staff report, address some of the concerns. It was not heard during that first month. We did have some people from that neighborhood that were noticed that did come out to the meeting. The second month, on the day of the Planning Commission meeting, the applicant asked staff to table it again to get some further analysis for their noise study. Now, at that point, I did defer that to Planning Commission to make that decision. They did want to have the public hearing because the public was attending the meeting. They were already coming. And there was really some thoughts from the Planning Commission members that it was time to make a decision on this. So, and the last thing I wanted to say is tonight is an appeal. It is a public hearing. So this was put in the Oakland Press more than 15 days in advance. There was a mailing given out per ordinance to everyone within 500 feet of the property. Appeals do not need signs at the site, so that's one thing that they did not do, but they did have a sign at the site for the special exception. It is up to City Council if you want to render a decision tonight. There is a resolution at the very top of this item within the council packet, but that's at City Council's pleasure. So the appellant is here to speak any further. Thank you very much.
Usually I'm the one doing that. We want to give the opportunity for the appellant, the appealer, to make their case, to share with the council and the community why they would like to appeal this denial decision. So I'd like to give the floor to the applicant or their representatives. You can take the microphone now. If there's anything further that you'd like to elaborate on, any other perspectives you'd like council to be considering. And then after that, we will make sure there's no clarifying questions and then open the public hearing for everyone to weigh in.
Good evening, members of council. My name is Larry Scott. I'm with the law firm of O'Reilly Rancilio. We're here tonight on behalf of the appellant applicant, if you will. I'm here tonight with my partner, Nathan Petruzak. I hope that you all were supplied with a copy of the letter that we submitted to the city with regard to comments as to the sound, the noise, the dust, and the special report that we received from the sound engineer. I'm going to turn it over to Nathan, let him make the presentation as to what was contained within that letter and what our reaction was to the staff report. We did get a copy of the agenda. We note that there was a staff report attached to that. We note that that was dated October the 4th, and our, if you will, brief that we supplied to the city was submitted on October the 9th. So again, I hope you have had an opportunity to review the material that we've supplied, but for right now, I'll turn it over to Nathan. Okay, thank you. I just hope everybody's had a chance.
Thank you for confirming. Yes, so council colleagues, under the letterhead of the law firm O'Reilly Rancilio PC, dated October 9th in your packets, that was what the attorney was referencing.
Nathan?
Good evening, Council President, members of City Council. First, to address the first issue that was raised about the original approval and concrete crushing. As many people have run a business know, sometimes businesses get approvals and then as years go by, pivot and go in different directions. There was no ill intent here in engaging in concrete crushing activities. In fact, some years after the initial approval was granted for the outside storage, my client did contact the city about installing a concrete crusher on site and was told that because it was a temporary use, meaning it would be brought in when there was concrete to crush and would be taken away when that process had finished, that a special exception permit was not required. So obviously, a concrete crusher came onto the site and we began crushing concrete. And subsequently, we learned that that had become a problem and that there at least had been some confusion as to whether a special exception permit was required. And that is the reason that we are going through this process today. In terms of the overall approval, the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act requires that a special exception permit, or sometimes called a special land use, be approved if all of these 7 special land use categories are satisfied. The only issue that the Planning Commission had with this really pertained to the 4th category, which is the proposed use shall not be hazardous or disturbing to existing or future uses in the same general vicinity and will be a substantial improvement to the community as a whole. The reason that the Planning Commission felt that that standard was not satisfied is because it was of the belief that the noise generated by the concrete crusher would be in excess of what it believed was the 55 decibel limitation for an industrial property that adjoins or abuts a residential property. As you will see in our letter, there's a couple of different things. First, we point out in the letter that the zoning ordinance provision that establishes the 55 decibel limit for residential properties only comes into effect if you abut a residential property. This property to its west has an ITC corridor and railroad tracks and does not abut the residential properties to the west. The residential properties to the south are on the other side of Columbia, which is a public right-of-way. It does not abut those properties or share a common lot line. And then the property to the north is separated both by a private road from the residential properties and then also from, I believe, M2 zone properties that are immediately on the other side of that private road. The only property that my client's property shares a common boundary line with is the M2 zone property to the east. And as you can see from and I should say, the zoning ordinance only requires that the sound that you generate on your site at that property line not be in excess of 75 decibels. So the actual number that applies to this use is 75, not 55. And we've submitted a sound study along with the letter that establishes that on the eastern property line, the sound generated by the concrete crushing activity will be less than 75 decibels at the eastern property line. I think a few other things to note about the sound study with respect to the 55 decibel limitation that was the focus of the Planning Commission and the planner's analysis is that if you review the sound study that was prepared by NTH, and the person, the expert who prepared that sound study is here this evening if you have any questions for them. But you will note that on page 4 of the sound study, it indicates that the average decibels 425 feet from the concrete crusher and behind a berm was 49.1 decibels. The concrete crusher is to the west is about 680 feet, and there is a berm that separates on the western side. The berm, I think, has been said maybe is about 7 feet. It's probably more about a 10-foot natural growth berm. And so if you were to look at this, the sound study, it's that the decibels that would be generated at 425 feet behind a berm are less than even the 55 decibels that would be required if our property did abut a residential property, which it does not. And the other thing to note about the sound study is that the concrete crusher largely does not generate, and really does not generate, any more noise on site than the background sound that is naturally occurring on site anyway. And that would be on page 3 of the sound study. If you look at it at 750 feet from a crusher across from a berm, the background sound on site is 53.7 decibels, which is, again, less than the 55 under the zoning ordinance, but is greater than the sound of the crusher itself, which signifies essentially that while the crusher does make noise, the site itself generates more noise just as background sound than the crusher will actually generate. That's a lot of information to throw at you. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, but the sum total of it is that it appears that the Planning Commission was under the misimpression, and I understand it's a complicated issue, but they were under the misimpression that we share a common boundary line with residential properties such that the 55 decibel limitation would apply. And it clearly doesn't, and our sound study establishes that we are well within the sound requirements of the zoning ordinance. And that being the only reason that this special exception permit was denied by the Planning Commission, this is a special exception permit that requires approval under the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act. I know that there were some issues raised and questions raised by residents during the Planning Commission meeting about dust being generated from the concrete crushing. As we've sort of noted before, there was a concrete crusher on site for some time prior to all of this, and a FOIA to the city revealed that no complaints had ever been received by residents pertaining to the site and dust being emitted from the site. And in fact, concrete crushing is heavily regulated by EGLE. There's a permit that's required. As part of that permit, you're not allowed to have dust that's being generated, and my client is here and can certainly speak more to the issue of the dust mitigation that is required under state law and under the permit if the commission or if the council has any questions about that.
I'd just like to add to that the day after the Planning Commission meeting, EGLE made a surprise visit to our site. They did their inspection, and they issued an all-clear report, both in terms of dust and other things that they regulate. You know, I was there today. I drove all around that site, and I would ask that the council, if nothing else, consider doing the same thing and taking a look at the site, the surrounding areas, appreciating that we're not adjoining any residential neighborhood, and the fact that property has been in operation since 2015 without a single complaint. We FOIA'd the city. There's nothing on file with the city about a complaint of any operation at that location. So again, with that, we're happy to answer any questions. We have representatives from the owner here, and we also have representatives from the NTH who conducted the sound study.
So the appealing party, is that the sum total of the case you'd like to make?
On behalf of them, yes. I think together with the sound study and the letter that we provided outlining the issues that we've had with the reports that were given, that the Planning Commission relied upon when they made their recommendation.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is there any clarifying questions before we open public hearing? We can deliberate once we are considering the resolution following the public hearing. But anyone need clarity? Councilman Goodman, Councilman Rutherford, clarity on the matter before us.
I simply want to ask, is the applicant actually in the room?
Is the applicant is at the rear of the room?
That was my only question.
Okay. Councilman Rutherford.
I just got one question. Do they have permission to have it, the crusher there?
The administration, the planning manager has stated that no permission was given. The legal representatives for the property owner contends that an inquiry was made, I assume, to a staff member. Was that in person, in writing, by phone?
So,
this goes back several years. And
so they contend that they had a conversation that it was stated no special exception was needed, but it is legally clear that, yes, that is the city's position. Yes, a special exception would be required for a concrete crusher to operate.
and so my follow-up would be, if this was, they had a no, and there's been no complaints prior to 2015 from what they said. I'm just trying to make sure I got this right. When did the city become aware of this, and when did this become a major issue? That's what my question is, because what's confusing to me is if they've been working on this since 2015, that's when you said you've been working, okay, I'm about dates and times and clarity. So it's 2015, that was 9 years ago, so now all of a sudden it's an issue. When were they verified that it's an issue?
Can I clarify one thing?
Go ahead with it.
We didn't do the crushing in 15. In 15, they got their site plan approval,
Okay.
and they were asked, are you going to do any crushing? And at that time, they said no. It was a couple of years later, and what goes on there is it's a temporary crushing machine. It's brought in, it's used for a couple of months, and it's brought out. And that's all we're asking for now, is to be able to use the temporary crushing machine. But
The reason,
he has the floor.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Is there anything?
Because when we asked early on, we were told that because it's a temporary use, we didn't have to go through this. The temporary use was being, again, used in April of this year, when the city cited us. We shut it down. We removed it. It's gone. I mean, we didn't.
But you're not able to provide clarification on who from the city, that's not known to you at this point? Okay, so I will just offer this perspective. There may have been many complaints received by the city of Pontiac from 2015 until today, but they're saying by a Freedom of Information Act request that they submitted for documented instances, sort of records that would indicate those complaints, that's where they're able to make that statement. We all know that the city of Pontiac, from 2015 on, somebody could have received a call and never done nothing with it, or never documented it. Members from the public at various public hearings of the Planning Commission, they offered their perspective on how often they had complained. But based on what your Freedom of Information Act request revealed, is that there was not documented instances of complaints related to your operations.
There was nothing on the FOIA request. But we also can tell you, we've been there we've never had anybody walk in the door and say, what are you doing here? Well, you're doing something wrong. So, I mean, it's not just somebody didn't write it down.
Well, to clarify.
We're not hiding. That place isn't hiding. It's 40 acres big.
Representatives from your firm, I should say the operations, not necessarily your law, shared with the Planning Commission that there are state agencies that do their various inspections and regulations. So would it be correct that what was shared, that they would be at times on site, that has taken place?
Sure. Eagle's been there. I'll let him. Herb Rupersberg's here from the company. Mario Vano's here from the company. Okay. Chris Kuzno's here from the company. I'll let
Councilman
him answer.
Rutherford.
so the reason why I'm asking this is because I understand we outsourced everything until 2022 when we brought in code and the building, but I'm just trying to make sure that everybody's being treated fairly. So I just want to know, from my perspective, what the city actually did to all of a sudden now it's an issue. That's why I'm asking, when did this become an issue? I just need a timeline.
Well, I don't think we have members of the code enforcement leadership here this evening that can answer from their perspective what prompted them to go in April. So that's a fair question.
Okay.
Council Pro Tem, again, we want to clarify the process so that way we can hear from the public. This is public hearing time. Any further clarification?
Yes,
I
sir.
can answer your first question.
Okay,
What
I'm going to
prompted
give him the
this
floor.
There was another crushing operation, which was mentioned, in a residential neighborhood, and that elicited complaints. When that started is when the city went around and said, oh, well, you guys got a crusher too. You got to shut it down. They didn't come looking for us. It was another complaint that prompted this problem.
Thank you for your perspective. Pro Tem Carrington is
Yes,
next on the speaker's
thank you,
list.
President McGinnis. First, this is approved for a storage facility, am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay, what are you currently storing on that particular site?
I'll let Mr. Rupersberg address it, but I was there today. There's 2 months worth of broken concrete there that they were going to crush before they were shut down in April. There's topsoil there, which they screened. That's permitted under their current use. And there's 40 semi-trucks and a building and a garage and mechanics. And there's 40 trucks from Danny's Transport, which are all part of, was the original plan and the site plan. But
So currently, are you doing any crushing right now?
No, we shut it down in April. Move the crusher out.
Thank you.
Does the representative of the operation believe that that fully answers what materials are stored there presently?
Correct. There was supported back in 2015 that was going to be a trucking operation, stored materials there, natural materials, sand, stone, aggregates, and be able to ship in and out of there, which is what we are currently doing as of today.
Mayor Grimel, followed by Councilman Parker. Oh, sorry, Councilwoman Jones was next on the speaker's list, then followed by Mayor Grimel. Anything, Councilwoman?
Yes. One clarification question regarding the sound study. So I see here that on site, while this crusher was in use, the sound registered at 81, et cetera. And then down here, the verbiage changes, and it states that the levels are expected to be less than 50, I suppose, decibels at the location of 425 feet away. So my question is, these readings that are completed at 300 feet away from the, from the site, is that an expected, because it says 60 to 70, so is that an expected result, or is that an exact result? Was the study conducted at this, this amount of feet away, or was it just, guesstimation?
Can I call?
Yes.
Karen Oconta with NTH Consultants. We did this study. And the range that you're talking about is actual readings that we took at another site that's operating the same crusher. And we just measured at different levels. So that's a range of the distances where we measured. And there's a map that shows the locations where we collected those samples and the different levels. And you're going to see readings differ because when there's a berm, when the zone is blocked, when it's obstructed, you get a lower reading, a lower sound level.
The actual report was conducted on a different site because the crusher was gone from this site. When we needed the report, she went to where that crusher was.
Do you have your clarification?
Oh, so this report was not conducted on your site. This was from, a sister site.
Correct. We did background levels at the specific site at 225 Columbia Avenue, but because a crusher is not there, we need to be able to figure out what levels are using a crusher. We went to the Ajax 2 site, which is a similar operation. It was the exact same crusher that would be used at this site, and that's how we took the measurements.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Council President.
Mayor Grimel?
Yeah, I know that code enforcement isn't here this evening, but my understanding is that we've been getting verbal complaints about both crushers, both this crusher site and the other crusher site in the city going back at least as far as last year, and that's really what prompted the city's investigation. And my understanding is that was corroborated by some residents who spoke at the Planning Commission and said that they had been complaining about this site. I know that the attorney said that the day after the Planning Commission, the state came out and said there wasn't a dust problem, but it sounds like by the attorney's own admission, the crusher wasn't operating that day. So that doesn't sound like, because apparently it had been shut down in April. So I don't know what the relevance of that is. And I do just want to say this isn't a sound violation. This isn't a sound citation. It is a use variance request. And so I do want to be clear about that, that the impact of the use on the surrounding neighborhoods isn't just potentially about sound. It's also potentially about dust. It's about the views and sights and about other dynamics there.
Councilman Parker?
Thank you. So how often are you planning on using this crusher at this site?
I'm sorry.
How often are you planning on using the crusher at this site?
It's a 2 to 3 month process, usually in the spring.
Microphone, please. We have millions watching at home that want to hear your every word.
I'll let Herb address that because I don't want to.
It varies from year to year. There's been several years that we have not done any crushing. There's been several years where we've maybe crushed 2-3 months at a time, and we remove the temporary crusher out and relocate it to a different location.
So it's a movable crusher?
Yes.
And you haven't measured the sound for this site? I believe is what you said. You haven't measured the sound for this site.
We did not measure the sound for this site because we had a cease and desist order, so we immediately shut it down and moved it to another site. And then it was brought to our attention through the staff reports that it was a sound problem. So we measured the sound on the same exact crusher at a site just down the street, the same application, the same stockpiles, to give you some accurate data.
That all sounds good, but at the end of the day, you did not do a sound study at this site, correct?
I'm sorry, if I can. We can't. I mean, you can't say, well, you didn't do a sound study at this site, but when we have a cease and desist order that prevents us from installing the crusher on site, running the crusher on site.
We get it. We just want to make sure that everyone's clear-eyed that this is a sound study that you contend is comparable, not at this site, in terms of when it was operable.
It is entirely comparable. If the city would like to give permission for the concrete crusher to be installed back on the site for the purposes of testing on the site, we're happy to do that, but that would require the city's approval to allow us to do that.
Any further follow-up, Councilman Parker?
Well, I did have one for, I think this is to the deputy mayor, the mayor. When the thing is in place, has the city went by to validate the sound at any point? May I? Because it's my understanding that, if I may, and this is just for my clarity, it's my understanding it's a movable piece of equipment.
Yep.
So who gets notified when the equipment is moving there?
So the city was never notified that this temporary equipment was coming in and out, at least while I've been in here since November of 2022. I have not heard the sound myself. Rachel Locker, the community development director, has heard it, and we've talked to other community members that live in that vicinity, some of which are not here tonight, that have different varying levels of hearing that sound. So, there are, eyewitness accounts, even at a staff level, of hearing that in operation. And this is at 225, not at the adjacent residential site.
Thank you.
Okay, this is questions of clarification. We're here for a public hearing. The question to you is about notification Councilman Parker has asked. If this special exception is ultimately granted, if the denial is appealed and the special exception is granted, no notification would be given to any city department because their special exception has been granted, correct? Whether it's, there for a week or there for a year, there's no requirement of notification on a moving of a temporary concrete crusher.
City Council in the special exception review. So as you're reviewing this appeal tonight, you can review this as a special exception. You can add a condition that notification be granted to the city if that, because there is a correlation there, but they still have to go through a site plan process if a special exception is approved, but there is no requirement per the zoning code that they would have to notify us when it came in and out.
Okay. Councilman Parker, do you have any further follow-ups?
I'm good, thank you.
Councilwoman James, a question of clarification.
Yeah, my clarification is the original approval for this business. I'm not clear on what it says manufacturing, heavy manufacturing, but I'm not clear on what it is they are manufacturing that would require them to crush cement. What is it they are? Are they manufacturing bricks?
Yeah.
What are they manufacturing?
So I can review, I've reviewed the minutes from 2015. I'll let the appellant, if you so choose, speak about it from their level. The original application was actually to store natural materials. That might be piles of stone and dirt and things of that nature, and have the trucking materials come in and out. Nowhere in their original application, and this was mentioned at that planning commission, nowhere in that application was there talk about a concrete crusher. It did get brought up as part of that public hearing, part of that whole process, and there was a lot of confusion at that meeting, and that's when the planning consultant at that time asked that question. If you don't have the concrete crusher at the site, you realize this is not part of this approval tonight. That original approval for that outside storage is a slightly different use in Table 2 of the different type of land uses than it would be for a concrete crusher, which it quantifies as heavy manufacturing.
So the original request, it sounds like the material they were storing was concrete? Is that the material that they were storing on the property?
We can let the appellant speak to that.
Yeah, if you could with the appellant, that would be great.
Originally, we did have concrete on the site to crush. That's why it was brought up in the original submittals in 2015. From the development of the property and of trucking in the needs in the city of Pontiac and Oakland County, they would truck concrete in there. When we were told we could not crush there, it was I think the intentions of the city of Pontiac not to give us a permanent crushing facility. And we were not looking to do that at a later date. One of our general managers that are no longer with us since 2017 asked if we could crush on a temporary basis. We were told yes, we didn't need to go through a special land use permit to do that. And so we did it on a if-come basis, a couple months here, a couple months there, from year to year. Then we were told, you guys need a full executed crushing facility permit, and that's why we're here today.
Has your question of clarification been resolved?
Yes.
A second question of clarification, Councilman Jones.
Thank you. I would like to clarify something that was recently stated. So there are approximately 4 or 5 months worth of concrete sitting at the property now awaiting to be crushed. I believe that's what I heard. And I'm just wondering, and this might be important before we move into public hearing, what your second option would be. Are you able to transport this concrete and crush it elsewhere, perhaps further away from a residential area? And, how would your option 2 impact the community?
First of all, I was there today and was told
2 months.
Microphone.
there's 2 months worth of concrete there that needs to be brought.
Could you please use the microphone?
During the site visit today, we saw the concrete, and we were told that there is currently 2 months worth of concrete on site to be crushed.
And to her question of what are the alternative business operations if not permitted the opportunity to have a temporary crusher here?
There's not a lot of options, other than the removal of that. And as I think we brought up in the planning commission meeting last time, that would be extremely costly, extremely noisy, extremely detrimental just to the community alone. Big chunks of concrete, trying to load them and dump them into trucks and move them would cause more havoc than allowing us to crush it on site. What material's there?
A second clarifying question, Councilman Rutherford.
Okay, because I'm getting very confused, and I want to make sure I got this right. Earlier, it was stated that there was no physical complaints, it's just verbal, right? Is that what was said? I'm asking.
The applicant is stating that they have submitted a Freedom of Information Act request. I have not seen the results of that. Their contention is that there's no documented complaints. I do not know what time window their request addressed.
And so my follow-up question is, can you give me a guesstimation or an estimation about how much this will actually cost you versus having the crusher or the stuff being moved? Can I get an estimation of? Because my confusion is we recognized that it was a problem. When was the problem recognized? And why all of a sudden is this a major issue? So if you could just tell me how much it would cost, hypothetically, if you didn't get the boat you needed to, you said costly, but I like a dollar amount. To the gentleman in the back that just walked up and said, do you have a dollar amount? And I'm asking this so we can be fair and impartial, because it's a pattern I'm seeing. I'll use that later when I do my closing comments.
So 2 points of clarification. In speaking with my client, it will be millions of dollars to remove the concrete from the site. And also, one point of clarification I think is important here. It's not about whether or not someone likes the use of concrete crushing. Concrete crushing is allowed as a special exception in the M2 district. This is where it goes. Our sound study, which there's no contrary evidence, it's the sound study, and it says the sound that it will generate to the residences is under what is required under the zoning ordinance. We have a permit from Eagle for the concrete crusher that requires us to maintain dust mitigation strategies. And there's this idea that, well, there's been these amorphous complaints that aren't documented anywhere, but that's not evidence. All of the evidence here suggests and establishes that the special exception standards are met, and it has to be granted. It's not about whether you like concrete crushing. This will cost my client millions of dollars if it's not given what the law says it's entitled to have.
Thank you.
Any other questions of clarification needed for this public hearing to happen? Hearing none, the public hearing is now opened at 7:32 p.m. Each community member can go to the microphone. You must state your name and address for the record. Each individual will have 2 minutes to speak.
Thank you so much. My name is Sarat Shankar in Pontiac. So my question is, would the private concern be willing to install a real-time noise monitoring decibel meter? Thank you.
If he could spell his name, since they're not writing down.
Sir, can you please spell your name for the record and your address? The clerk needs it.
Sarat Shankar. My address is 2721 Patrick Henry Street, Auburn Hills.
Can you spell your name for the record?
Sarat, S Sierra, A Alpha, R Romeo, A again as in Alpha, T as in Tango, H as in Hotel. Last name Shankar, S as in Sierra, H as in Hotel, A as in Alpha, N as in Neptune, K as in Kilo, E as in Echo, R as in Romeo.
Thank you. Next speaker in the public hearing, and it does not have to be always in the form of a question. You can state your opinion.
Hi, Tamika Ramsey, 296 2nd Avenue. I live across a boulevard and a fence. And I was, sorry, because I was rushing here because I heard this on the Facebook. So I was talking to my husband on the way here, and he said if it's any louder than what it was normally, because I'm one of those people that called the mayor and called Mr. Yandrick to talk about the noise. You can hear it, and it can wake you up in the morning on a Saturday. So it's loud from my house. And we would ask that it doesn't go any louder than 45, but if it was at 49, then we already got problems. It is loud. Sometimes the dust can be a problem, but it's not unbearable. And we do understand we live near a business manufacturing district, but we also have an outside with dogs and kids and like to have a nice quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chuck Johnson, 21 North Paddock Road. I think a lot of misconception has been taken not only by individuals who is not familiar with concrete crushers and how they're operated. 30 years ago, it was a nightmare for a concrete crusher. But in today's world, concrete crushers are designed, the cleanliness of them are all governed by our governmental agencies as indicated. Those small crushing plants like the one on North Saginaw Street and other hidden concrete crushers is the guys who's causing all the havoc, the creation of noise, dust, and whatever else. It's causing these large contractors who's able to build our roads, our highways this material is used for that. This is a very large company and a very large operation. And the bottom line is concrete crushers have to be used. They have to be utilized, especially in the areas that they were designed to be used in. A concrete crusher can be picked up and moved the same way you get in your car and drive to the store and come back. It can move a concrete crusher in a couple of hours. And the bottom line is you have to understand the reason behind concrete crushing. It takes a lot of thought and a lot of knowledge. And on top of that, it takes away some of the debris and cars that goes into our landfills. A lot of extra debris that comes off of these highways and roadways are utilized by the contractor along with the concrete crushing part of their operation. So I'm hopeful, as a citizen of this community, that this council approves this crushing plant for the purposes that are intended and under the rules and guidelines that they're governed under. And those who don't like a crushing plant or don't want to hear about one, then
that concludes your time.
Thank you.
My name's Patricia Tossi. I live at 114 East Princeton Avenue on the dead end, just the other side of the railroad tracks. I want to start out by saying thank you for previously denying the crusher application. We appreciate that. I have other neighbors here with me that live on our dead end. We all have concerns. All the neighbors that I've spoken to don't even like this business being in our neighborhood. We didn't want it to begin with. We got it anyway. Now we're stuck with it. I don't consider it to be an improvement to our neighborhood. I consider it to be a negative. I have concerns about the dust. Mainly my complaint is the noise. It's disturbing to our peace. Right now we have the windows closed because it's cool outside, but during the months when the windows are open, there's screeching and noises that like shakes the earth. I don't know what they're doing there. Regardless of how many decibels it is, it's been disturbing. We've been disturbed. I have been disturbed in the middle of the night. That hasn't happened now for quite some time, but the noise is startling and it's undesirable. We don't like it and we don't want it. I understand what is being said here, that if it's legal, but it isn't nice and it's not an improvement to our neighborhood. It's a detriment. Thank you.
My name is Lonnie Fry. I live at the corner of Highwood and Princeton. My address is 1338 Highwood Boulevard. I'm moving. I've had it. My Broyhill furniture on the inside of my house, I run a washcloth across it, and it's black from the dirt. My car's covered, my coffee pot, dust covered every day. Can't keep my house clean. Started packing my furniture about 2 weeks ago, setting stuff out to the road. I'm gone. I'm out of here. I've had it. And my house is going to be a rental.
Mr. Fry spells his last name with an E at the end, Clerk Doyle, and he's Lonnie with an I-E.
Linda Watson, 525 California. I really only have the issue of the retirees, but listening to this, I had to stand up. When they originally came, they knew they could not have the crushing there. They accepted that at that time. Now they want to change it and say the city is legally required to do this and that they're going to lose billions of dollars. We've heard that before. I'm tired of folks coming in and doing things to our city, and we allow that to happen.
Hi, my name is Dana Pope, and I live at 316 East Princeton. We are roughly 6 houses from them. They're saying nothing abuts their area. I guess they mean exactly next to it. There is a DTE area where all their big towers go that run through there, and the old railway system. I don't know that that would matter, would make any difference in the noise or in the dirt. The dirt that comes is unbelievable. The dust. I can't open any of my windows. I've just been diagnosed recently with COPD. I can't even go outside. Their sound study was not done at this location. It was done somewhere else. The noise is unbelievable. And his threat of moving the concrete now would cost them thousands, and it would create horrible, more noise and more dust for us. Just feels like a threat to us. Our area is residential, period. I, too, was born and raised in Pontiac, Michigan, and I'm very proud of it. No one wants this. Their original request was denied. Please deny this.
Okay. Carlton Jones, 1323 Oakland Drive, Pontiac, Michigan. I think I picked up on the same thing that Linda was just sharing. Just from what I heard, it sounded like they were asked initially, were they going to do crushing in there, and they said no, it would take place somewhere else. That's what I think I heard. So it's almost like they knew that they wanted to be crushing, but they didn't want to ask for it at first, that they was going to do the crushing somewhere else. So now if they brought material there that needed to be crushed, why would you bring material to a site that you say that you did not want to be doing crushing at, but now you got material there you want to say it's going to cost you a lot to move it, but you told us that you weren't going to be crushing at that site. I don't care if it's mobile or not. And I think what the mayor said is very important, because we don't want to just focus on just this sound. The commissioners said how it impact the community, how it impact the neighbors or the community or the residents. It could impact them in a lot of ways. And it's not like I don't want crushing to happen. I know what Chuck was saying is great, Chuck, that saying, but impacting the neighbors is something that they should be very conscious of what impact it has on the neighbors. And if they're not, because they think they can come in and ask for a special exception, that's the whole idea when you're talking about doing something special and it's not granted, it's not automatically be given to you. So I think we need to truly understand it's not just about the sound, it's just how does this operation impact the neighborhood. And I think that right there needs to be the most focal point of what we're talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead. You sure?
Hi there, Darlene Clark, 506 Nebraska Avenue, Pontiac, lone resident. Thank you, Mayor, for bringing clarity to the contract that was at hand. Thank you, residents, for coming out here and expressing your opinion. But the common denominator is not so much as that the decimal sound, as one of the residents has said. It's not about whether he can afford or cannot afford to move that cement. Has nothing to do with it. Personally, he's been there long enough to gather up enough funds to be prepared to move that cement. It maybe take 1 or 2 or 3 days to move it, but move it. Now, this is the important factor, and I mean this sincerely. We have dealt with this with M1. The changes and manipulations of these contracts that come through planning. Now you have it in another side of the neighborhood in Pontiac doing the same thing. The people have spoken. They've spoken. I was at that last planning meeting, and I tell you this, it was more people there than just this. Their hands was tied, so they had to vote it down. Don't let council, do not let your district residents see you at a weak point where you allow an attorney to come up here. Because let me remind you, your attorney's job. His job is to defend whether it's right or wrong, to give the best representation for his client. He get paid good. The noise that both of these men has made sounds good, but the residents' noise should be heard a lot louder than these two people who do not live in Pontiac. Understand that? He made enough money. And let me tell you, it probably just take a week to move all that cement. And I am from a construction family.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Steve Pope. I live at 316 East Princeton. I live about 6 houses down from the crushing plant. I'd like to put a picture on my phone on your screen if I could. Is there any way I could do that?
I don't think we could pull that off. I'm sorry.
No?
No.
It's a picture of my buddy's house. It's about 200 yards away from their concrete pile. And he's trying to move, but the realtor said you got to take 50 grand off your house right off the top because you can't sell it next to this pile of concrete. And the dust, it's been dusty all summer. You can come to my house and look at my cars. They're covered with dust. And the noise, they slam their tailgates at 5 in the morning before daylight. On top of it's up on a pile of concrete, 50 foot tall. And when they dump it, they slam their tailgates. Then dust comes to my house at 5 o'clock in the morning before daylight. It's not right. My neighbor moved out. He didn't want his kids there. You know, from the dust. The dust is unreal. They're not even crushing concrete yet, and the dust is unreal. They said they had a water cannon last time I was here. I never seen a water cannon. Nobody's seen a water cannon. The dust is unreal. And the noise. Before daylight, slamming tailgates. And they could move that pile of concrete 2 weeks. I'm done.
Yeah, my name's Jack King. I live at 301 4th Street. I live right across the street from that place. And like he said, the dust that comes from that place is unreal. You can't go outside and mow your yard or have people over because of the constant dust that comes into your neighborhood. That's going into our lungs. And it covers our cars, our homes. The back of my house and the side of my house is black from where that dirt is stuck to my home. And I got a yellow house, and it stands out. And when they say they only got a couple of months' worth of cement, that's bull crap. I see trucks coming in and out of there every day, and they've got our road destroyed. From Baldwin Road, you make a right onto Columbia. From right there, go up to them railroad tracks. That street is tore apart. They bring them over, packed semi-trucks in there with single and double trailers. And they're well exceeding our weight limit and everything. But I had to go out and buy like a little mop thing, clean my car off with, and I do this every day. If I don't do it at least once a day, 2 times, I got to go to the car wash because it's so heavy on my truck, I can't get it off without scratching my paint. But when they say that they're not affecting our health and everything, they're lying out their rears.
Yes, Teresa Lee, 347 East Wilson, Pontiac, Michigan. As I stand here today and listen to our citizens that represent districts and to hear their heart, we need to come together with this. We understand business, but my question is, why would you have this type of industrial place right in your community in the first place? My question also is, would you live there? The ones that's representing the place,
The citizen has the
would
floor.
you live there? You know, nobody in their right mind want to wake up every morning to dust everywhere, and the pollution of it. What's in that? What's in the dust? You know, we're already dealing with a lot of pollution in the first place. So you can make your millions of dollars, but not at the cost of somebody else's life. Not at the cost of somebody else's life. We have a phenomenal team of dignitaries that's loving, compassionate, and love their community. They here representing you. I believe we're going to show them that they are here for us. And you know, listen, let's just do the right thing. You have enough people in here tonight that's concerned. And I'm like with Sister Clark. I'm over there with M1. I know they said one thing. But at 5 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm here in car racing. So we need to be mindful. We cannot allow these corporations to say one thing and then come in here and do all together something else different and justify it. Thank you.
Other requests to speak during this public hearing? Any other requests? Any other requests? Any other requests? Hearing no further requests, this public hearing is closed at Verizon Wireless's 7:53 p.m. All right. So first, I just want to make a quick statement for my colleagues' benefit. Clearly, the individual and their legal teams are very astute, and they are trying to pay attention to every aspect of the decision made in the Planning Commission. I sit on the Planning Commission. I made the motion for denial. I made the motion for denial stating that it was out of compliance with standard number 4. Standard number 4 reads, the proposed use shall not be hazardous or disturbing to existing or future uses in the same general vicinity and will be a substantial improvement to the community as a whole. That standard does not speak to sound readings or times of sound readings. I just want to make sure everyone on council knows we are not a hearing board about a sound violation ticket. That's not the question tonight. The Planning Commission denied the special exception, saying we, the people of Pontiac, will we make a special carve-out or option? Will it be a special exception? And as the representatives previously identified, and we have our city's attorney here, there are 7 standards that in an ideal scenario, a special exception clears the hurdle on all 7 standards. They are, 1, the proposed use shall be harmonious with the City of Pontiac master plan. 2, the proposed use and appearance of the site shall be harmonious with the existing and intended character of the general vicinity. 3, the proposed use shall not change the essential character of the area or adversely affect the development of the surrounding neighborhood. 4, the proposed use shall not be hazardous or disturbing to existing or future uses in the same general vicinity and will be a substantial improvement to the community as a whole. 5, be served adequately by essential public facilities and services such as highways, streets, police, fire protection, drainage structures, refuse disposal, water, and sewage facilities and schools. 6, not involve uses, activities, processes, materials, and equipment or conditions of operation that will be detrimental to any person, property, or general welfare as a result of producing excess traffic, noise, smoke, fumes, glare, or odors out of proportion to that normally prevailing in the particular district. 7, maintain all proposed structures, equipment, or materials in a readily accessible manner for police and fire protection. So at the Planning Commission, when I made that motion, I intentionally chose 4. Number 4. I could have chosen more numbers, but I didn't want to give more room to be attacked or Swiss cheesed. And yet and still, that solid single reason for denial is also being challenged. So I want to just caution my colleagues, we may have opinions pro and con, but just know that obviously this applicant and their well-heeled law firm will utilize any statement we say to undermine whatever decision we make. So I'm just saying, choose your words with a scalpel, not with a bazooka. And I hope that's fair and legitimate and legally permissible to state that this is a public meeting and we're making a public decision and we are trying to adjudicate appropriately. And I just don't want us to color it with commentary that will be used to undermine that decision in a court of law. The M word was used millions, millions. So if it is determined that a business has been unfairly harmed to the tune of millions, and ultimately a lawsuit is filed and it's found that the citizens have prevented a business from legally or lawfully doing their business, who will pay that damages of millions? Why, all of us. So I'm trying not to give more ammunition to be used against us, the taxpayers. So I hope that is setting the stage in a way that we can discuss this. First, is there an interest on us making this decision tonight? It would require a motion to suspend the rules to bring up a resolution since it's not on our current.
I second the motion.
So Councilman Rutherford moves to suspend the rules in order to take up a resolution rendering a decision on the denial appeal. That was seconded by Councilman Goodman. So what we're saying is yay or nay, we allow for the agenda to take this up now. Everyone clear on what the motion is? Hearing no further discussion, the motion, Clerk Doyle is suspending the rules in order to take up a resolution to make the decision related to item number 3, this public hearing just concluded. Clerk Doyle.
James.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Rutherford.
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
7 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The rules are suspended specifically in order to take up a resolution now. Does a city council member have a motion, to take up the resolution deciding the appeal of the Planning Commission denial for 225 East Columbia?
second.
I have a motion.
Let's hear the motion.
My motion is to deny.
Okay, so Councilman Rutherford moves to adopt a resolution deciding the appeal of the Planning Commission denial as a denial of the appeal. And that is seconded by Pro Tem Carrington?
Yes.
Okay, so now I'm going to read the resolution is now before us, moved and seconded. I will read the resolution language, and I'd like Attorney McAtamney, if you can come to the microphone. Council is in a position to be able to ratify that it does not meet standard 4 and share the basis of that fact, but it would it be appropriate and legally advisable that we expand upon the standards offered by the Planning Commission and go for 3, 4, and 6, or some other combination if that's the will of this council, or is it more tight and right to stick with the same standard that the Planning Commission did when they were trying to be tight and right?
Good evening, Council, Mayor, Administration. That's a great question. So before this Council today is an appeal of a special exception denial. That means that this Council is hearing de novo that appeal. That means that if the Council has other reasons based on the standards of approval for denying or approving the special exception permit, those should be cited by this Council because it's a whole new hearing. It is not at all based on the appeal or the original application that went before Planning Commission. You guys are hearing it anew.
Okay. Thank you very much. That clarifies the matter. All right, so this is the resolution that Councilman Rutherford has moved and Pro Tem Carrington has seconded, and then we will have a discussion specifically about the standards and the basis of fact. Whereas the city noticed for a public hearing on October 1st, 2024 for the October 15th public hearing, and whereas the City Council held a public hearing on October 15th, 2024, and whereas the City Council deliberated and determined the following, now therefore be it resolved by the Pontiac City Council that it decides the appeal of the Planning Commission denial as follows, that we deny the appeal and deny the requested special exception permit for a concrete crusher at 225 East Columbia Avenue. So that's the motion that's now before us. And now what we'll do is entertain an amendment to that to specify under that resolution that resolved for sub-item number 1, it does not meet standard X based on the fact Y. Council colleagues, we now have the resolution before us. Just to put that item to bed, does any council member have any feedback on whether it should be standard 3 and 4, standard 4, some other combination? Anyone have any sense on that? Councilwoman James, and followed by others.
Yes, this is my district, and I do feel that we should use all 3, 4, and 6. They are all applicable.
Okay.
I think we should use all applicable reasons.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rutherford?
I was going to say the same thing she said, so that's what I think we should do. That way we nip and tight it so there could be no argument.
Thank you. Councilwoman Jones, did you have a hand?
Yes.
Okay.
3, 4, 6, and I would also entertain 2.
And 2 was the proposed use and appearance of the site shall be harmonious with the existing and intended character of the general vicinity.
Just stretching it.
Okay. Did you have a hand, Councilman Goodman? You have the floor.
3, 4, and 6.
Okay. Council Pro Tem?
Yes, 3, 4, and 6, but I believe 4 and 6 are the most solid.
Okay. Any further feedback? All right, I will, with that feedback, I will entertain a motion to amend the resolution to add for a sub-item number 1 under the now therefore be it resolved. It would be saying number 1, it does not meet standard 3 due to the fact that it would adversely affect the development of the surrounding neighborhood. 4, due to the fact that it would be disturbing to existing or future uses in the same general vicinity. And 6, it will be detrimental to any person, property, or general welfare as a result of producing excess noise and airborne debris. So that is your motion?
That's my motion.
Yeah.
And there's a second by Councilwoman James. So that is an amendment where we're just specifically identifying for the denial what are those standards in the special exception menu of 7. We're saying 3, 4, and 6 for those specific aspects as spelled out in those menu of 7. Any clarification on this amendment before us? It's not the full vote, it's just that specification. Does the city attorney have any concerns or qualms about what council has spelled out for 3, 4, and 6?
No, I'm comfortable with them.
Okay. Hearing nothing further, roll call Clerk Doyle on adoption of the amendment, specifically the amendment adding that sub-item 1, saying that under the deny, that 1, it does not meet standard 3 due to adversely affecting the development of the surrounding neighborhood. 4, due to it being disturbing to existing or future uses in the same general vicinity. And 6, it will be due to being detrimental to any person, property, or general welfare as a result of producing excess noise and airborne debris. Roll call, Clerk Doyle.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
7 yeas, no nays.
That amendment carries. We're now back to the main resolution as amended. I'd like to go down the line and give each council member an opportunity for further deliberation, feedback, questions and concerns. Councilman Parker, anything further?
Nope.
Councilman James?
No.
Pro Tem Carrington?
No further comments.
Councilwoman Rutherford?
So I just wanted to read something. Commissioner Prairlove stated that she remembers the hearing for the facility removed and by the commissioner in 2015, but it wasn't even recalled in the original thing that a concrete crushing would be in the proposal. So that's in the notes as well, and I think that should be noted that even in the original plan, there was no concrete crusher in the proposal. So that's it.
Councilman Jones, any further deliberation?
No, sir.
Okay. Councilman Goodman?
Thank you. So I'll just jump straight into it. The first thing is I appreciate you for coming out, but transparently, the city of Pontiac pays our employees and our lawyers to do their job, so we will rely on the information that they have provided to us, and that does establish a large concern for noise pollution when it comes to us, to the surrounding area. But I do really want to hammer in on the complaints and concerns surrounding dust, airborne particulate matter, and so on and so forth. The city's job is to make sure that we are, providing for the health and quality of life for our residents. And so, in all of that, when we're hearing these multiple complaints about airborne particulate matter, as someone who does climate justice for a living, this is part of my job is environmental work. But also as someone who lives nearby the air and has had to drive past the facility and has had dust actively in the air when I'm driving past, and I've tried to put up my windows to be able to drive and breathe safely. So, beyond just the noise issue, there is a very palpable concern and many different complaints about the dust. And if we have people who are living in the area, and you say that the property is not directly against residential or not abutting residential. However, if you look at that map, you can go across one street and there is residential. You can go across one other street and there is residential. And given that airborne particulate matter doesn't just stay itself on a property, it does flow through the air, it is affecting not just your property, but the surrounding neighborhood. So there is just a larger general concern that, this continued, and at this point, if we approve the special exemption, an increase in particulate matter to issue number 3, it would adversely affect the development of surrounding neighborhoods, as has been mentioned in terms of property value and potentially housing development. It shall not be hazardous to future uses in the general vicinity. Again, that has been spoken to by many complaints from the community, not to mention the decibel concern. And then when we get down to number 6, where it says that the involved uses, activities, processes, materials, and equipment or conditions of operation will not be detrimental to any person, property, or the general welfare due to noise, smoke, and as Council President pointed out, airborne particulate matter. So, again, going forward, there's this much longer-range concern that in approving the special exemption, we will be making worse both the noise concern and the breathability concern, the airborne particulate matter concern that many of these residents have. I think that there are, again, those are our very 3 strong points. Again, not just focusing on noise, but on the general concerns from the members of the community that live nearby. So for that reason, I will be voting no.
Pro Tem?
Oh, sorry. Yes, President McGinnis, I'd like to call for the vote.
All right, so no need to motion to call for the vote if the speakers list is exhausted. I'll just say as a final note, consider if this special exception request was surrounding where you lived as well. It's not just about a house literally on the mountain of concrete. It says surrounding. Hearing no further discussion, roll call. Clerk Doyle on the motion to adopt the resolution denying the appeal of the Planning Commission denial at 225 East Columbia Avenue based on the standards 3, 4, and 6 and findings of fact.
Jones.
If you want to uphold the denial, so you're denying the appeal, that would be yes. Correct, Clerk Doyle?
Correct, yes.
Thank you for that clarification because that's tripping me up. But okay, yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Rutherford.
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
James.
I didn't hear it.
He said James, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. 7 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The resolution is adopted. The denial is upheld. All right. Next on the agenda is number 4, a resolution authorizing referral of We'll give a 10-second recess. If you're going to rumble, rumble downstairs because we can hear it through the paper-thin doors if you do it outside in the hallway. We're at number 4. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution authorizing referral of Presbyterian Village Senior Apartments?
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilwoman Rutherford, seconded by Councilwoman Jones. The resolution authorizing referral of Presbyterian Village Senior Apartments, townhomes expansion to Oakland County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for review and consideration. Administration, you have the floor.
Thank you. As part of our continuing effort to expand housing of all sorts in the community, from affordable and accessible to market rate, we would like to provide a housing brownfield TIFA incentive to develop more affordable rate senior housing at the Presbyterian Villages operated Village at Oakland Woods on Updike. And so that is what this agenda item is about. It's really asking City Council to refer this to the Oakland County Brownfield Authority so that they can act to continue to further this through the process of providing a housing brownfield TIFA for this expansion of the existing housing development there. And with that, I want to turn it over to our Economic Development Manager, Deborah Younger.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council, Mayor, Administration, Public. Before you is expansion of Presbyterian Village Oakwood Woods project. Prior to this, there are 216 units of independent living at the site. This would allow for, this would allow for an additional 50 units of housing, 40 of which would be congregate living, so that as you go through your life stages, rather than having to leave independent living, you could go into assisted living. So 40 of the units will be designed for assisted living. An additional 12 of the units will be for families, so that would be married seniors with 1 and 2 bedrooms on the site. There is the site plan. I'm going backwards, sorry. That's the parcel information, so that you can see it's approximately 6.77 acres. And there is the site plan of what would be at the bottom. That's where the red is where the 40 units would go, and then the 12 units are up above that. Above that are some of the existing units. So this would be using both the Brownfield TIFA as well as MISHDA's 9% low-income housing tax credit for the project. And, and the representatives from the developer are here. And as we say before, this is referring it to Oakland County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority to review. Once they review, it will come back to City Council to either agree or disagree with their approval of the plan. So with that, if there are any questions, as I said, the representatives of the developer are here.
If the representatives would like to take the podium and offer any other perspective on the request that's before council tonight.
Yes, thank you, council and mayor and staff for being here and for hearing us. My name is Ian Wiesner. I'm the Senior Vice President of Facilities Advancement for Presbyterian Villages of Michigan. We are a nonprofit, mission-driven, faith-based organization that provides housing and services to seniors across Michigan. We have been operating the Village of Oakland Woods here in Pontiac for more than 40 years now. This is a long-planned expansion that we're now in a position to do. As Ms. Younger said, we'd be creating a 40-unit, single-story, garden-style apartment building where we'd be bringing new services to the campus. So these would be services for people who need assistance with activities of daily living, help with medications, help with bathing, things of that nature. We'd also bring a full-service food program to the campus for the first time so that people would be able to get food services on the campus, in the building, partnering with the Area Agency on Aging, 1B, so that to get Medicaid waivers for folks so that they can get those services and that food through waivers and not having to pay out of pocket for those services. In addition to that, we have the 12 cottage-style units, which is similar. That will be similar to the current existing units on the campus. You can also see in this picture, as a separate part of a separate phase of the development, we're also planning another 36 of those cottage-style units on the campus. That's not up for discussion tonight. That would be a separate phase of the development. Really appreciate your consideration for this critical source of funding for the project, and happy to take any questions.
And to confirm to staff and the applicant, this would, similar to another matter we considered, once the Oakland County Brownfield Redevelopment entity renders their verdict, am I correct in understanding the City Council will hear it once more to sort of ratify or stand alongside what they decide? This is that initial proactive step of sending it there for them to render a decision.
That is correct. I'm sorry, that is correct.
So hopefully that's familiar for council since we've recently considered that back end part. Councilman Rutherford, discussing the motion.
Ms. Younger, how many of the brownfield motions that you have done has actually been approved?
Right now, two have been approved, if I could call it, CHN, Lighthouse, so that would be, there's 2 projects there, so that will be 3. The rest are going before the end of the year.
And so my follow-up is, how many years would this brownfield affect this one? Because the last one was 15 plus an Oprah. Are they getting the Oprah as well? Or?
No, Oprah is commercial property only.
So
this is 25 or is it? It's 30 year. This is a 30-year brownfield TIF.
And so who would capture that tax base?
The Oakland County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority would capture it and then distribute it to the developer for financing for the project.
And so for 25 years, we wouldn't get anything?
There is a small portion you would get if you want to speak to the breakout of how much local capture there is.
And I'm President, I'm asking because I want to get a clarity of how many we've done, sure. How many much more are we going to be asked to do.
And this is Al Bogdan. He's the consultant for the project and a longtime friend of mine from other projects in other cities.
You know, I think it's appropriate that a senior development have a senior consultant to help them. Basically, the city will continue to receive the funds, the taxes that are received from the property presently, and that will continue forever. And the TIF right now, from what we look at, is that from the city operating budget would be about $25,000.
In the current value.
Yeah, current value.
Further discussion? So we're talking about 40 units in the apartment structure, garden, meaning 1 story, and 12 units for this phase of sort of the cottages expansion. So the value and benefit in part is a dramatic expansion of affordable, attainable senior housing options, expanding it. As the representative for District 7 on the east side, and this is probably not news to many of you in the city, this is a highly sought after and desirable place if you're a senior to be able to remain in Pontiac or to return in Pontiac. And from what is shared with me, the waiting list is long. And obviously one solution to a waiting list is more units, more of a facility. But so what you're explaining is that compared to your previous phases, that garden level apartment building would be able to have heightened care, correct? So if those needed some bathing assistance, feeding assistance. So that is of great value and benefit because every one of these units, correct, would be affordable for seniors. Can you break that down for the community?
Correct. So of the 40 units in the building are all reserved for folks earning 50% area median income or less. We have also applied for financing from the Federal Housing and Urban Development Department that if we are successful in receiving that funding, then folks would only need to pay 30% of their income towards the rent, and the rest of the rent would be covered by HUD. So that application is pending. And then the cottage-style units are for incomes of 80% AMI or below.
Okay. Further discussion? Yep, and I'm just seeing if anyone needed it for a first time. For a second time, Councilman Rutherford.
Okay, so Ms. Younger, if you can come back to the mic, I have a question for you. So earlier, the gentleman said $25,000 times 25 years, correct?
The current amount that you get would stay the same for the existing value. So the improvements are what the TIF is based on, the value of the improvements.
So that's $625,000. Is there any way, and this is an offset, but I just want to know, if you could give me the amount that we're going to get from each of the projects that we've
done in the past?
Yeah, and the reason why I'm asking, it has nothing to do with this one. I just want to know what the city's actually going to get for giving away this amount of TIF, this amount for the brownfield for how long? So this one is $625. I want to know how much Lighthouse to Purdue and all these other ones, because I just want to make sure that it makes sense. So that's all.
I'll be happy to provide a report.
Thank you so much.
Further discussion? All right. Well, I sincerely advocate for our colleagues. One of the 5 priorities for us this year is expanding diversity of housing and attainable housing in our community, and this is one very accessible way, something that's a tangible project. You've shared it at the Planning Commission, but can you share with the council and the community what your ideal timeline is?
So ideally, we have our application in for, as I mentioned, that HUD financing. That application has been submitted. Our application for low-income housing tax credits has also been submitted. If both of those are successful, we would be under construction before the end of this year.
Very good. All right. So this is, do we want to refer this to the Oakland County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority? That's the action before us, the primary action before us. Hearing no further discussion. Roll call. Clerk Doyle on adoption of the resolution.
Parker?
Yes.
Rutherford? Yes. Carrington?
Yes.
Goodman?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
7 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The resolution is adopted, and it'll come before City Council should that redevelopment authority decide favorably. So we'll consider that at that next point. We now are at a resolution approving an opioid settlement with Target. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Goodman, seconded by Councilman Parker. This is a resolution authorizing entry of participation agreement in Target National Prescription Opioid litigation. This does mean the store Target. We previously considered the settlement agreement with Kroger and other entities that prescribed opiates in the past. And so this would be Pontiac being able to receive resources in these larger lawsuits and master settlement agreements. Does anyone, City Attorney McAtemy, do you want to break down any further?
Absolutely. Good evening again. This is an interesting settlement. So you guys have seen a lot of these before. The settlements that have come before you often involved periodic payments to different entities, both participating entities like the City of Pontiac and non-participating entities, other communities that were entitled to compensation but weren't considered one of the participating entities. They didn't actually have their name on the lawsuit, basically. In this situation for Target, Pontiac is once again a participating entity. However, unlike the other settlements, only participating entities are going to be entitled to compensation in this case. And unlike the other settlements, they haven't given us a breakdown of what that's going to look like. So it's our understanding, based on our discussions with our New York counsel, who is actually handling this case, that once counsel receives a final number of all of the municipalities that are participating that have opted into this settlement, they will release an idea of what the exact payment is that we're going to get. So unlike in other situations where I could tell you an estimate of what we'd be getting over a certain amount of time, I cannot do that in this case. That being said, unlike the other settlements, this is a one-time lump sum. So the City of Pontiac will be getting these funds, and they will be getting them very quickly. Which is part of the reason why this settlement's a little bit different, because there's not a breakdown over the course of several years. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have, but I would recommend that as a participating entity, Pontiac opt into this settlement. The total of the settlement is about $14 million. What percentage of that Pontiac will get, I don't know as of right now, but I'd be happy to keep you updated as soon as I have that number.
Any further discussion on the motion before us? Yes, ma'am.
You know the timeline when the check gonna come in?
I don't officially. I believe it's going to be sometime in 2025. So it's much quicker than the other ones.
And my follow-up is the administration prepared with the current money we got from the opioid settlement to be using it to do more awareness in the city, because throughout this year we've had several overdoses, and so I believe that money is supposed to be used to help to give out information or to do some symposiums. Does the administration have anything planned in the timeline to use the current money we have?
Mayor Grimal, would you like the floor?
Yeah, our grants director has been working up a proposal. So Director Campbell has been working on this, and I think we'll have something to share with City Council soon. I defer to the Deputy Mayor if he happens to know about a timeline, but we have had conversations with Director Campbell, and she has a specific idea in mind.
And the reason why I'm asking is just so that you're clear is we also know through the holidays, suicide rates go up higher. I speak from experience because of New Year's Eve, from opioid and addiction, and we have a real major problem right now going on because of the fentanyl and the lace current products that we have here. We've had several overdoses that I just want to see us use the money that we're getting for those services. So especially during the holidays, if you're not familiar with holiday blues, how it gets more intense when it gets, so just put that in your head, not trying to beat y'all around the bush, but that's something that's very near and dear to me. Thank you.
Any final discussion? Councilman Goodman.
I actually also want to repeat what Councilwoman Rutherford said. For also very personal reasons, as the administration knows, I take the opioid epidemic and overdoses extremely seriously, as they've closely affected me personally, especially someone who ended up passing away in the city, despite not being from here. So I would love to be a participant in whatever way we craft that program in trying to protect and help our residents.
Any final discussion? Hearing none, roll call. Clerk Doyle on adoption of the resolution, approving the resolution for item number 5 on the agenda.
Rutherford. Carrington.
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
7 yeas, no nays.
Motion carries. Resolutions approved. We are at public comment. Who's up first, Pro Tem?
Mr. Carlton Jones.
First and foremost, I just want to say I appreciate when I see our elected officials working the way you work tonight. I really believe that I didn't have as much information when I said initially that I thought that thing should have been just knocked down, denied. But I do realize you guys doubled down, and it needed to be doubled down on it. Not so much to anything against that business, but I think you strengthened our position of some folks who really was not taking the citizens in consideration. They had ample time to try to address noise, dust, and bring that to the table, and they didn't. So I appreciate the way I've seen council and even Mayor, your comments to focus not just on the sound was appropriate, because that was not just a sound issue. It's how it impacts residents. The other thing I want to say is that tonight we had the gentleman who came here and talked about how he loved his city and he was willing to give to helping out Councilman Goodman in the area and the people who do the barbecuing. See, we got to do more than just pat them on the back. These are business people we need to try to help. Sometimes we be trying to help outsiders more than we help people inside. So we shouldn't be struggling to see how we can help people who are helping our residents. So we got to find a way. I think that's what those opera dollars was saying, how we can help. Just like we doing home repair, this is a person who's doing auto repair work for our residents, and we should find a way to help them. Patting them on the back is one thing, but they need help too to stay in business. So let's find ways to truly help these folks who are trying to help. I know I do the same, but I struggle to try to get help, but I'm not going to complain about it. Because when I put on things around here, I come out of my pocket to do it. Because I love the city. But we struggle sometimes to help our own residents. Now, I want to tell you, I heard something today in this workforce development. And I've got to share this. I know it's time sensitive, but that's why I got to tell you. The whole dynamic has changed for workforce development in this country. And you have to get that post-secondary degree or that post-secondary credential within 5 to 6 years. You will really have a very low position in the workforce. And if we don't start right now trying to prepare for what we know is coming, we know demolition work is coming, we know construction work, and if we're not preparing for that, we are not doing economic development. So please, as a city, let's step up with economic development, especially with opera dollars. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Dr. Didra Waterman.
Mr. Carlton Jones, we're almost in sync tonight in terms of what we want to talk about, because I had that on my mind to talk about, and that was ARPA dollars. And I want to start out by saying that on the agenda item, you have another question about where is the contract so that the accounting of the ARPA funds that the grants director had asked about several months ago that you agreed to has not, or you're trying to find out if it's been done yet because it wasn't last week. And because of that, because the time is limited, and I'm concerned about what's happening with these ARPA dollars, as some of you are. And last week, the grants director couldn't give more than a half-a-page report on something that's so important. And it's the time, Council. I know that you were brand new when all this started, but now you've got experience, and I think you finally found out that you're being played in some of that. The reason why it hasn't been signed is because the administration doesn't want you to know, want you to find out what that is, because there is, from what Councilman Rutherford handed us at the District 1 meeting, there's lots of money that's out there that isn't going to cover the promises that have been made to our citizens, the homeowners who should have gotten $25,000. Some of them got it, but a lot of it couldn't even file an application, and they've been promised. They were promised that they could file an application for that, have a third round. Well, that's not going to happen, apparently, unless you track those dollars and make sure that that's available to people. The other thing is the small businesses. They were told $50,000 for inbound businesses with residents who live here. And now we're finding that that's not going to be enough to cover from what's left. And so you really need to know where this is so people won't be disappointed. All right. So people who were promised things won't have the money to do that. And you can do that because there is money that has not been accounted for yet. All right. Now, once I hope Ernst & Young has had a chance to get started on this so they can tell you, so you can reroute it if need be, so that you can be responsible in terms of making sure that this ARPA funding, which was meant primarily to help the community rebuild. It was COVID-19 relief money. That's the one I applied for, and that's what I fought hard for to get for the citizens. So I'm asking you, Council, to not be dissuaded in kind of pursuing that and making sure that you find out as this deadline is approaching, December 31st, to account for this money. And don't have the excuse told that there's not enough people to work. Look, I started out with 28 people. Okay? There's 4.5 times that many people here, so there's no reason why you can't get the answers that you need to do the business of the city. All right? The people who are working here are working great. I'm not commending them, but I'm just saying you got to stop having the administration pass the buck and get the answers that you need.
Your time. Thank you, Dr. Waterman. Ms. Carol Wilkins.
Hello, City of Pontiac. My name is Carol Wilkins, and I'm here again regarding the retirees of the City of Pontiac. Last week I came here and gave you a word. The word was excuses. And what that meant was justifying why you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Today I come with a new word, inadequate. It is something that is not enough. The information that we get from the city each week is the same thing over and over again. The actuary, the lawyers, the names that's needed. You know, we are so tired of it. And I'm reaching out to the citizens, the retirees of the City of Pontiac that's out there listening. You need to come here to City Council. You need to let it be known that you're sick and tired of this. You know, I want you to come and let's protest. I want a list there. You can sign up at the retirement office, put your name and number. I'll get back with you. We need to protest to show that we need this money. Now, this is $14,000 or more for back pay, $400 a month more. This is our livelihoods, and you don't look at it that way. You look at it political policy. You know, and I just want to tell the citizens and the retirees, go to Gerb's office, sign your name, your phone number. I'll get back with you, and let's work together on getting this done and taken care of. A lot of people's hands are tied. The vibe that I'm getting from this administration, and I want you to know, is a Donald Trump vibe. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkins. Mr. Chuck Johnson. Bishop Teresa Lee.
Again, tonight, first of all, again, to our city council and our president, our mayor, and President, my condolences go out to you for the loss of your mom, your stepmom. And I just want to let you know, I appreciate when you came to my house when I lost my husband and you brought flowers. I appreciate it. I never will forget that. Today, I just bring this to you to share my heart with you because I understand what it is to lose loved ones. And to all those that have lost family members, loved ones within the last few, within this month or so. Also, I want to come tonight and just, again, just want to re-elaborate on this administration. we have our ups, we have our downs, we have our disappointment, and that's good. Because the Bible says, let's reason together. But if my right hand is doing what my left hand is doing, then we doing the same thing. But if we come together, there's going to be conflicts. But if we can come together as one, understanding this, the community, like we did tonight, it was amazing. All of us was one. Everybody came in here for the same, agreement for these people that's over there in Columbia. So, I thought this was, to me, tonight was just really, really good. But I also come tonight to thank you all for inviting me to be the one that gave the opening prayer invocation at the city meeting that we had a couple of weeks ago. I mean, I thought about it and I said, man, there's so many amazing people here in this city. We have amazing leaders. We get beat down. A lot of us is beat down all the time, but let's celebrate one another. And I just want to know, I just want to let you know, y'all could have picked anybody. We have amazing pastors, amazing leaders. And I just want to just tell you all, man, thank you. Because you definitely didn't have to think about me. And I just appreciate it. And, things is going to get better. We don't have no choice. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Bishop Lee. Ms. Linda Watson.
I'm old and can't remember anything, so there's three things.
Objection, you're not old.
Three things I don't want to forget. Thank you for only having 9 items on the agenda. 12 o'clock is too much for me.
Amen.
So if we could keep it down under 10, maybe everybody will stay. Number 2, in one of my classes, I got information about the revenue that has been received from other cities on the marijuana. Now, I haven't been following that because I was not in favor of it, but that's money. Since you approved, it was approved. I want to know what's happening to get that going. And third thing is my main reason for coming down. It's always about the retirees. It's been 12 years. I'm no longer allowing it to put my pressure up. It's going to be what it's going to be. And sooner or later, it'll happen. But I will tell you this. I'll be the last woman standing because my spirit will not allow me to die until I get my money. So I'll be down here so you can see me to know that I haven't given up.
Thank you, Ms. Watson. Donna Pope or Steve Pope?
They spoke during the public hearing.
Okay. Jack King?
Public hearing.
Sherrod Spankler, I believe he spoke to the public hearing. Pastor Kathy Desiree? Okay. Lonnie Frey?
Spoke during the public hearing.
Ms. Darlene Clark?
Good afternoon once again. I actually got 2 things to say. And let me say this. People like Carlton Jones and I, who lived here like all our lives, 70 years of our lives, the compassion that we have, it's not always about the in-between, which is the youth from 30 to 40. It's always about the older people. And the reason that we have this compassion for older people and retirees, because they took care of us, and we saw them at their best. And as age take over, you begin to see them decline. People our age cannot accept that. it's a hard pill to swallow, because when you've seen the strength, the mighty strength in these people and the retirees, you have to almost take a deep breath and say, I got to face reality. And Mayor, I'm asking you to face reality. I'm not trying to harp you. I'm not trying to destroy you. I'm not trying to do anything to discredit you. I'm trying to say, look through the visions of the eyes that Carlton Jones and I have looked through. It's not a pretty picture. We're used to coming to City Hall with strength. There's none. We used to know our older people rely on those pensions to get them through another day. Sharon, Linda, all these people we watch. Matter of fact, Sharon and I went to school together. To watch this deterioration, it's a hard pill to swallow. But to watch it and cannot help them with a few dollars that's so minute to a fund, that's even impossible to hang on to. We can't do it. But yet we come here and to beg on their behalf. We have council people who have seen our vision. They have looked through our glass, and Councilman Rutherford says she had to go to a funeral and she couldn't handle it. Now imagine us, 70 years old, watch this happen. Mayor, it'll come a day when you can't sleep at night, and that, let me tell you, it's not a pretty feeling. But also I want to say this about DPW. DPW, and let me thank you for the island. They did clean the island on Orchard Lake and Williams Lake, which thank you, so now the residents can see driving. But let me tell you this, council. There is no living way that the health department should not go into that building and condemn it. The fumes alone to breathe that as you eat will kill you. Mayor, as the father of our city, the mayor, you should not want that for anybody. Council, go in that building to see how they are working. Oh my God, and I'm making this public. Oh my God.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. That concludes public comment, President McGinnis.
Thank you. We're at number 6 on the agenda, discussion on the status of restoring retiree benefits for retired city employees. Pro Tem Carrington.
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. I just want to just ask the administration for an update of where we stand and what some of the final tenets that needs to be taken before we can actually get this off our plate.
Are you yielding to the mayor?
Yeah, I'm yielding to the mayor.
Yeah, as I said last week, I'm also incredibly eager to get this wrapped up. As I shared last week, the CIPRI attorney sent an email about a tweak to the settlement agreement. It was about a week before that, so it's been about 2 weeks now. Our attorney did respond, but I think one of the things that's hindered finalizing this is that the lead attorney for CIPRI had knee surgery last week. So nonetheless, this week, our city attorney has been in touch with the CIPRI attorney, and I'm hoping that this can get wrapped up this week in terms of that tweak. That tweak relates to how the actuarial cost study needs to be done. And so the other piece here, of course, is that the actuarial cost study needs to be finalized. I know people don't like to hear that, but that's what state law requires. That's not our requirement. And that question that's been raised by the CIPRI attorney has to be resolved clearly so that we can give clear direction to the actuary. I did talk to the actuary. The actuary says once that clarity is provided, the actuarial cost study should be finished within no more than 3 weeks at the most. And if we can wrap this up this week, that would put us on track. It has to be provided to City Council a week before the vote on the settlement, but that would put us, we don't have a City Council meeting the first week of November, although the President has indicated that they might be willing to call a special meeting so to resolve this. But that kind of 3 weeks, if we can get this wrapped up this week, would put us on track to take this up at the second Tuesday of November when the regularly scheduled City Council meeting is scheduled.
All right, I am not trying to be haunted by the ghost of Linda Watson. Councilman Rutherford.
So Last week, I was invited to go to another funeral of a retiree. Walked in there and couldn't handle it because the first question that I'm asked is, what are y'all going to do for us and when y'all going to do it? And I'm saying it because I feel like if you paint the picture to make people understand the urgency of it, we got grandchildren, we got great-grandchildren, we got aunties and uncles who are affected because this income may not affect us. Some of us make six figures, some of us make more or less, but to have to keep hearing what are we going to do, when we going to do it is extremely frustrating. And I knew this person my whole life because I was born and raised here, and I just want to paint this. If we don't hurry up and do something soon, I don't know if half the people that's been waiting for this money going to actually get it. Because this person worked here 35 years, waited 35 years, ain't going to never see a dime of that money. And I just need a sense of urgency, because we'll do an urgency for a park, we'll do an urgency for everything else, but this retiree thing, it vexes my spirit. It just does. And I would be fake if I didn't tell you how frustrating it is, how emotional it makes me every time I see a retiree at the Antons or I see him at Fino's, and that's the first question. So maybe you're not getting walked up to because you know you're not from here, but I get walked up to every week. And I just need this administration to put some urgency on this, because everything else there's an urgency, and it just doesn't seem like it's one. And so to the retirees, once again, I want to apologize. I'm sorry we up to 14,000. It's my hope we don't get up to 20,000 before y'all get y'all money. But at some point, we got to call a spade, and that's all I'm going to say tonight.
Any final discussion? We will keep returning this topic until there is an action item before our plate for us to act on. Hearing no further discussion, we are at number 7 on the agenda. At last week's City Council meeting, it was shared and revealed that Council had voted to approve Ernst & Young to handle American Rescue Plan Act compliance and project management, and that was in July, I believe. In mid-July, we voted as a council to approve that. We learned last week that had not at that time been executed. Council leadership remained in touch with the administration for a status update, and it sounded as though it was on the cusp of being signed late last week. So we give the floor to the administration to give us an update on if the contract has been executed, is Ernst & Young actively engaged in working in the city for the actions that the council approved, and are they owed back money, or what the scoop is on that. So what do we know right now?
So I'll try to answer the questions in sequence. The contract has now been finalized. Last Tuesday, I learned after the fact that the ball was in E&Y's court. So it was in their court. They have gotten back to us and said they accept all of our city attorney's revisions. So the contract's been finalized. What is preventing its signature is that a family emergency came up with the person at E&Y who has to sign it. But we anticipate it being signed by them this week. And I didn't actually have that conversation with E&Y. It was the deputy mayor who had that conversation with E&Y. So correct me if I'm wrong, Deputy Mayor. But
was it knee surgery?
It was not knee surgery, but that's what we were told. So again, don't shoot the messenger, but the person at E&Y who has to sign it had a family emergency come up. We do anticipate it being signed this week. I will say that I talked with that individual last week, and he said that they have been doing work, they have been consulting. They haven't yet invoiced us for that work, but they have been keeping track of the hours that they've been spending on it.
Councilwoman Rutherford, followed by Councilwoman Jones.
To Deputy Mayor, as of today, because this is another contract that was brought to my attention, is the Clark White contract signed?
Yes.
Okay. And then my follow-up would be, is the GBI contract signed?
I believe so, but I will confirm that.
So I was told by the attorney on Friday and Monday, and I called Deputy Mayor on Sunday to let them know it wasn't signed. And the reason why I'm asking this is, how do we have these programs going when we haven't finalized which programs we use? And so what I would like to ask to the council is that you ask the administration to give you a list of every contract that we have voted on and to find out the date that it's been signed, because we had 2 murders last week. And I believe we did this gun violence program to help offset things, or gang violence, whatever. I don't know what the GVI, what does it stand for? Do you know?
It's about violent crime, gun
Okay,
violence.
And so I'm just trying to figure out, I know they went to Chicago before y'all try to mention that, but I know they ain't had no training because it ain't finalized. I just want to know which ones are actually signed. Because every time, before I come up here, just so you know, Council President, I call the attorney or I call Deputy Mayor. And so I want us to have a list of every contract we have voted on, specifically with ARPA dollars, to find out what's actually signed, because per our attorney, it ain't signed. That's it.
Councilwoman Jones was next on the speaker's list, followed by the mayor.
My condolences to the family emergency that occurred. I hope everything is okay. But I'm wondering, once this contract is signed by all parties and that, has come to the status of resolution, what would be the timeline of implementing their work?
Well, immediately, they've already started work, and they will continue work and ratchet up the work, is the short answer. So they've already been in communication with our staff. They've already been providing advice to our staff. They've already been working and are working on some of the documentation that's needed. So I'm just sharing with you everything that they've shared with me and with the Deputy Mayor and others. So I don't think there's any delay once the contract's signed and moving forward.
You were next on the speaker's list. Mayor, anything further?
So in terms of the GVI work, group violence intervention work, I can tell you that I assume you're referring to the contract with the National Network for Safe Communities. And I can tell you that the National Network for Safe Communities is fully engaged. I'm on weekly calls with them. They have never brought up to me that the contract hasn't been signed. Again, I will confirm that it's been signed. But I'm on weekly calls with them, along with our in-house employees who have been at work for a month and a half now, both Coley and Brian. And Coley and Brian they haven't begun off-site training, but they've been working with the National Network for Safe Communities since Coley and Brian started at the beginning of September, roughly. And I know for a fact that the National Network for Safe Communities has already scheduled days in November to come here, meet with the sheriff's office, and do a deep dive on what they call the problem assessment, which is identifying the root causes of what's driving violence in the city of Pontiac. So they've already scheduled time to come here. So I can assure you that, again, I'll find out if the contract's been signed, but regardless, it has not delayed the work, the important work that the National Network for Safe Communities and Coley and Brian are doing.
Okay.
Councilwoman Rutherford.
So the reason why I brought this up is because whenever you do this type of work, there's a specialty level of training that needs to be involved. When you guys had us sign it, the contract was for $283,000. For the employee, it was $500,000. So that's $783,000 that we're supposed to use. I'm asking because there's been a high rise in new gangs. Maybe y'all know it's new gangs going on. It's new gangs. I'll be in the streets. I still play my numbers, so I hear everything. And so I just want to ensure that
Objection, don't commit and admit on the record if you're
that was a
taking
joke.
part in illegal.
So what I'm saying is this. I just want to make sure they have the proper training so that we can de-escalate what's really going on in the hood. Because if you're not hearing it, it's things that are actually happening. And the training that they need, I'm not talking about conversations, I'm talking about the training that we're paying for is needed. Because we have an uptake in gang violence. We have new gangs that are forming weekly, and we are not proper. We have to make sure the people that we're paying this money for is trained. That's the only reason why I brought up the contract, because I was under the impression that until the contract was signed, they weren't getting the proper training. So am I mistaken that they're already getting the training without the contract signed?
I believe they are, yes. Again, but I also was under the impression the contract was signed. So I'll get clarity and I'll inform City Council.
Thank you.
Anything else on the discussion?
One more thing.
Is it on? Status update on Ernst & Young
No,
ARPA
it's
contract?
not on that, but I do.
Then I must rule it out.
Okay, I'll just ask in my. I'll see
Yes,
no
that is
worries.
yours. Yeah. Number 8 on the agenda. It's really an FYI. This Thursday, there's an opportunity for the community to do a walk and talk session to share your stories of the Phoenix Center and cast your vision for the future with Oakland County for redevelopment, redevelop, revitalize, and reconnecting downtown Pontiac. It starts at Pontiac's Little Art Theater, 47 North Saginaw Street. Plan for a 30 to 45-minute walk. If you'd like to stay stationary, there are options for that too. You can find out more at movetalkpontiac.eventbrite, and that's BRITE.com to register and for more information. So I want to make sure you knew about it. There's flyers around on social media and websites, et cetera. But we want to make sure that at these many, many engagement sessions, citizens know about the opportunity to help shape the future of this hub of activity with the county and downtown. Anything further on that? I want to acknowledge that Deputy Oakland County Executive Megan Sellers was in the audience earlier this evening, who's helping run point on this. And to that point, County Executive Dave Coulter has appointed her the first African-American African-American female deputy county executive in the county's history, I believe. And she has Pontiac roots, and she's helping run point on this particular project. Born and raised. Born and raised. Yeah. Okay. East side, the sweet side. All right. Hearing nothing else on number 8. We are now at number 9. Also a heads up that on the 26th of October, there's a Pontiac Community Mental Health Fair, Building Trust, Building Community at All Saints, Saturday the 26th from 12 to 5 p.m. The agenda lists the workshop topics and who's helping present it. For more information, you can call John Houle at 248-842-1965 or Thomas Lawrence at 248-881-8210. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, okay.
You know, this was Domestic Violence Month. Have we done a resolution for that already?
I don't think so.
And also, have we did a resolution on breast cancer?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I just want to keep us on with the themes so we could be,
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any final discussion? We're now at subcommittee reports. For time, you can limit it to saying, we met, and here's when our next meeting is, but it's your call. Communications, engagement, and operations. Chairman Goodman.
I can make mine short because it's very quick bullet points. You've seen a majority of my updates. The clerk has been here a few times talking about the elections as part of our committee meeting, stuff about the master plan, and then report back on the state of the city and just trying to, improve on every venture that the city does in terms of communications engagement. And I believe the very last thing is that the IT team is upgrading our storage capacity here at City Hall, since in bringing everything over and digitizing everything has taken up a lot more digital space than initially thought. So that's all of my updates.
Thank you. Economic Development, Housing, and Planning. Chairwoman Jones, anything you'd like to highlight?
We met. It was successful. It was very fun. Our next meeting is November 4th, 10 a.m. That is all.
10 a.m.?
10 a.m.
Okay.
Or 9 a.m.
Last time you had it at 8:30. Is it going to be 10?
It's going to be 9 a.m. this time. My apologies.
That's okay. That's what we're here for. All right, so Economic Development, Housing, and Planning. Thank you. Facilities and Property. Chairwoman Rutherford.
We met. I am not satisfied with the stuff I was told. I will bring it up to y'all the next week when we have our meeting because I didn't get what I asked for. And that's it.
Okay.
It's the last Friday. It's here in the what that is over there. It's in that meeting room, and it's my hope that we have a real plan for a DPW building, a real one, a logical one. That's it.
Finance and Personnel. I'm chair of that subcommittee. I got so much to say, but I want to go home. So I'll just say that the general fund balance as of the end of September was $65,742,167.93. That's the Fund 101 ending balance. That's a lot of money, but it is the high water mark because all the summer property taxes have been paid, or at least the large bulk of them. We've collected 100%, 106% of what was budgeted for property taxes. So that's a lot. and then, of course, that'll keep going down as it gets expended, but I want to make sure we knew that. The overall cash and investments of us, the people of Pontiac, our total cash and investments across all city funds is $177,658,430, and that's an increase of just over $10 million from the previous month, again, due to that property tax collection primarily. And that does not speak to some of the retirement funds that are sort of separate and distinct. But I want to make sure you knew that. There's a lot of other updates. I'll include it in writing to council members just for the sake of time. But in terms of contracts tracking, audit progress, HR, different initiatives and support for staff. And we want to make sure that legal billing is getting tight and right too. So we'll keep that going on finance and personnel. Law in the courts, Chairman Parker.
Thank you, Brother President. I'll try to be as short as I can. We met on September 30th, and for the most part, the 5th Court District gave their update, and they're pleased with all the activities that has been done with the upgrade of the building. We know that they've hired some additional employees, but they're also still short in the area of the clerk positions in the department. Kudos goes out to the code enforcement for the excellent work they're doing in the job that they're assigned to do. And of course, the MDIC met, and they're doing well, and the activities that they're doing have increased, and the hours have changed a little bit, and their payment scale has changed, but they are pleased with where that's going, and a further report will be given at a later date. That is my report.
Thank you very much. Parks, Recreation, and Public Works, Chairwoman James.
Yes, we met on Monday, September 23rd, and our meeting will change. That will be announced at a later time, but our meeting date will change for starting in the month of October. The contract for the Martin Luther King Bridge has been signed. The status of the DPW facility, we are looking at utilizing a DTE facility, but no definitive decision has been made. The council members have been asked to provide 3 street locations for speed humps. Those locations have been submitted, and they are currently being evaluated for final approval. The CDBG sidewalk contractors are working in District 4. We talked at our meeting about amending the current ordinance to offer more options to residents for sidewalk repair so that people who live in districts that are not eligible for CDBG funds would be able to get help getting their sidewalks done. There were several ideas that were put on the table, and engineering is working to develop a proposal to be brought before City Council in regards to sidewalk repair. Many a neighborhood park status, those parks are now out for construction contract bids. The Youth Recreation Center is still working on updated designs based on what was approved by council. There were 2 public comments. Our meeting ended at 1:41. Thank you.
Okay, finally, Public Safety, Health and Wellness, Chairman Carrington.
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. Public Safety, Health and Wellness met last week. Just some of the similar things that we discussed was definitely the department's crime statistics based on the city of Pontiac. We introduced the C's fire team or the new GVI intervention team to the Public Safety Committee. Also, one thing I like to bring to the community is that our contracts are coming to be renegotiated around police department, fire, as well as EMS services within this coming year. So I asked the administration to definitely start working on those contracts way in advance so we can have those contracts so we can look at them thoroughly. Overall, it was a very positive meeting. Oakland County, Lieutenant Ware actually came and gave us a presentation on the hot spots surrounding the city of Pontiac and some of the intervention that's been working to solve some of the crimes in our city. So I really don't want to go over those particular interventions publicly because I don't want to actually give way to some of the things that's happening in the city when it comes to police strategy that I'm not an expert at. So again, that's it for us.
Thank you. Communications are written. If anyone needs to expound on them, everyone will have a chance for closing comments. Mayor Grimal, your closing comments. Oh, I'm sorry. Deputy Mayor, your closing comments.
Thank you, Council President. Just a few very quick things. First, I want to bring everyone's attention to updates. Under updates, there are still 3 opportunities left to participate in the master planning process: October 16th, November 14th, and November 20th. All of them are from 6 to 8 p.m. And at varying locations across the city. It's all printed in here. The last thing that I want to say, just very, very briefly, is yesterday was Indigenous Peoples Day or Columbus Day, whatever name you want it to go by. But what I want to point out is how we came to have that day. And the short version of the story is that there was a time in this country when Italian Americans were very heavily discriminated against, and they circled around this historic figure to bring positive attention to them. Why do I tell this story? I tell this story not to uplift Columbus, but to say, in your daily life, please stop and think about all the different ways that you feel that you may be somehow different from somebody. That is diversity. Diversity is a good thing. We need to make sure that we are not creating discrimination in that diversity, but that we are making places where everyone is accepted and they don't feel the need to go find someone who was dubious at best to lift up and try to have a national holiday made out of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Grimal, closing comments?
I don't have a lot to share. I did, however, just want to say that, let me turn on my microphone. I don't have a lot to share, but I did want to just share a couple of things. One is we do have some dates coming up that I want people to be aware of.
The Deputy Mayor shared.
Oh, okay, great. Did you also share the Oakland County session this Thursday, or just the master planning sessions?
I discussed it under discussions.
Okay, perfect. Then the last thing I have is I've been to the current DPW facility, and it is not a good facility. We are painfully aware of that, and we are working diligently to find another place because it's not, first of all, it's not an appropriate facility for our employees, but it's also not a good facility for the efficiency of our operations. So we are working very, very hard to find a new facility.
Okay. Bless you. Clerk Doyle.
No comment.
Okay. Councilman Parker.
No comment.
Councilwoman James.
No comment.
Councilwoman Rutherford. Councilwoman Rutherford. Oh, that wasn't long enough? No. Kidding. Councilwoman Jones.
District 2 meeting is October 28th at 7 p.m., and I know it is getting cold. I'm approaching the final planning stages of the District 2 project, and I very much want to have this completed and executed before we see the first SNOW fall. So please stay tuned for that. I am working as hard as I can. Thank you.
Councilman Goodman.
Just a very strong final shout out to not only the folks at Chavez Auto Care and Tony who came out and the Allen family at Uncle Jerry's, but also a very huge shout out to our employee, James McQueen, who deals with me every single time I do one of these pullover prevention clinics, deals with me for hours on end, seeing all the stress. So he deserves a very huge shout out. And then last but not least, Heather Duenas, who currently works over at the Baldwin Center, who, again, along with James, spends every single one of these times that I do this event, working on every beck and call and making sure that this event goes smoothly every single time. So I want to make sure that they also get a huge shout out and get their flowers as well.
Okay. Pro Tem?
I need you to come back, sir.
Okay. Rutherford?
All right. A man who stands for nothing will fall for anything. That was said about Malcolm X. I was on the city website last week, and I saw this video that was very disturbing to me, and it got me to thinking, like, what do we stand for? So first, I want to apologize to the Deputy Mayor, Kafani Stevens. The way you were put on display was very distasteful, for it to be done. Thank God they took it down, because you deserve better, because since I've known you for 30-some years, your whole purpose in life has been to be of service to the city of Pontiac. And to be displayed like you just easy to be rushed along because you have different goals and ambitions was done in poor taste, and we need to do better. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to be asking people to take money out of the general fund to pay for a park. And it got me to thinking, if we could take money out of a general fund to pay for a park, then we can take money to make sure the 232 people that are signed up and that are under the impression that their houses are going to be repaired can actually be repaired, because we have to start putting people before parks. I even did a further investigation. I went to go see what ARPA stands for, because we say this word so much and we never know what it means. And so it stands for American Rescue. It doesn't stand for recreation, doesn't stand for re-election, it stands for rescue. P stands for plan, it doesn't stand for politics. A stands for act, that means to do. I put that up to say this very simply. There's gonna come a time when the folks who think that they getting their first time home buyer money, they're gonna ask the question, what have you done for me lately? There's gonna come a time, if we don't do right by the 232 people who have been approved, asking if their homes are going to be repaired, they're going to say, what have you done for me lately? There's going to come a time, because it also says something about doing something for mental health, and I haven't heard anything yet from this administration about doing something for mental. You can use some of the service for ARPA for mental health services, and they're going to say, what have you done for me lately? At some point, in some time, we're going to have to start using ARPA money and general money to help the people. Because I would rather see people, houses repaired, than I'm going to see for a park. So I have a resolution I'm going to bring next week, and I want to see the same enthusiasm that the administration is running for these parks to be about taking this money out of the general fund to get these people houses done. Last but certainly not least, our District 1 meeting is going to be the last weekend in April at the Alley Cat Cafe from 3 to 5. You are always invited.
April?
Sorry. I'm thinking about my numbers, sorry. It's October, last Saturday.
Again, don't on the record
I'm thinking about my numbers.
confess
Sorry.
that you're playing numbers.
It don't matter. They got to prove it. I want to say God bless you, God keep you, God put your hands upon you. And if you are one of the 232 people that feels that they should get their house repaired, was given a letter saying they're going to get their house repaired, come on down here next week and see what we can do to get these money for your house to be repaired. God bless you, God bless you, and have a good night.
Pro Tem Carrington.
Yes, thank you, President Menace. First, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Also, I want to thank those that offer me and my family condolences due to me being absent last night for the brutal murder of someone in my family last week. So I'm definitely grateful for the outpouring love that this city has shown me. And every time that I had to deal with a family crisis in this city, the cities have showed up and showed out for me. So again, thank you. Today, I'd like to thank Jim Neighborhood Housing Association for their cleanup in the 6th District today. They went through the district in the GM Modern Housing area and actually sent me the pictures of just how beautiful some of the areas that they cleaned up. I also want to thank the GM Cares volunteers who for year after year come into our neighborhoods and do cleanups. I never had to ask them, never have to call them. They actually call us and say, where can we help? And I definitely appreciate that in the 6th District. I also like to echo Councilwoman Melanie Relliff's concern about the housing project. I'm someone that always said that we should not thin this money out to so many projects. But this housing project has a direct impact to our citizens. And I definitely support reallocating ARPA funds, as well as making sure we tighten up that balance of those homes that we got, that we said that we can probably work on in the first, second, and third rounds. I think it's very important. But I also think that as a council, we also got to think about some of the things that we actually want done that we have to take off the table to really get these other things done. So I just want to make sure that we think about the entirety of what we're asking to be done. Me personally, I think that it's too many projects. I think it's too many projects. But I definitely think if 2 projects that I know that this community want is that housing, and they want speed humps and bumps on their streets. Those are easy things that we can do as a council and administration. And I definitely hope that in the coming months that we get these things done. And good night.
Thank you very much. 3 brief items. One, thank you to the dozens of neighbors that came out to yesterday's District 7 meeting, the East Side Community Meeting. Great meeting. We covered a lot of ground and got a lot of reports of things to fix. Second, I want to make sure everyone knows about in Murphy Park this Friday, October 18th, there's 2 aspects happen. One, I've been informed there's a community cleanup to Pro Tem's point that folks are coming to help clean Murphy Park, which is fantastic. And that evening, Friday, October 18th, from 5 to 7 p.m., Native Kings, Yaktown Don't Back Down, and Great Dad are doing a Halloween costume party. So we hope that everyone comes out and enjoys this now annual tradition happening at Murphy Park on MLK at Elm Street. Please come out and support that. It is being supported by Council District 7 project funds as well, again this year. So please make sure the word gets out. A lot of dynamic events happening for families in our beautiful city. So with that, is there, and then the final point, thank you very much for the condolences on the passing of my stepmother, an amazing person who's lived in Pontiac for decades. So District 6 has lost a resident, and we'll be honoring her and laying her to rest this weekend. Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? It's been moved by Councilman Rutherford, seconded by Councilman Parker, that we adjourn this evening's meeting. Hearing no further discussion, roll call. Clerk Doyle.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford.
Yep.
7
All right.
yeas on it.
7 yeas. We stand adjourned at 9:21 p.m. Have a safe night.